Hello and welcome to another episode of Video Game Logic. Today's episode was recorded on June the 12th, 2019. I'm your host, Gaming Psychologist, and with me, as always, a Sunday driver.
Caffeine Rage.
On today's show, we are going to be discussing all of the happenings from E3 2019. We'll be giving some general thoughts and going conference by conference. Timestamps will be in the show notes following their respective conference, in this case, as opposed to topic. So,
well, wouldn't they still be topics?
I guess so. And because it's E3, we won't be doing Community Corner. I guess we could peruse. I saw there was some stuff in the Discord we could maybe generally bring up at the end.
Yeah, Jim was at
thoughts
at E3, and he flipped off the Fortnite booth.
Indeed, as he should have.
Of. Well,
and
I said
apparently he climbed a rock wall too.
Yeah.
Got a t-shirt.
Yeah, I guess they don't have to print those in the larger sizes. That's one way to save money.
Yeah, my fat ass wouldn't be going up that rock wall.
Not without a rocket. Same here. But yeah. It's my fat crippled ass.
I'd have to be a pair of tits and a steak at the top to get me up there. Anyways, hello, Rage.
Hello.
So we're recording a day and an hour late at this point.
Well, to be fair, it's usually an hour late when we start anyway, so a day late because someone caught the con crud.
I did, even though I didn't go. I will spare you and the listeners the details of my bodily misfunctions, but I was not in good shape yesterday.
Also known as, every day.
Yeah. I see what you did there. I didn't sleep hardly at all Monday night, and then was very sick Tuesday morning, and I didn't go to work. And then I called off recording just so I can make sure I was at least some better. And I'm still a little ill, but I went to work today.
You sound it. Yeah, you're really nasally.
That's just my normal voice, buddy. And you think after 3-4 years that we've been friends, you would recognize that by now.
I was making
I'm feeling sad. I'm feeling sad. I know you're making a joke. I was also trying to make a joke, but it didn't land. It just sounded like I was being a dick. So, honestly, though, that's not really different from how I usually sound. So I'll just chalk that up to normal.
Yeah, so a nasally dick. Got it.
Yep. Wink. Like my pants just like sparkled. Well, I'm not wearing pants, but you know what I mean.
Well, my character in Forza, he has some golden hot pants if you want them.
Nice. And then that's what we spent another 30 minutes talking about because, we both like video games. We had like a sort of weird impromptu
video games?
Game-ish club. We'll be talking about Microsoft, PC, Xbox Game Pass thingy and their conference shortly, but both of us are partaking and have been playing Forza Horizon 4. We both like it.
And me, a couple other things, but
I haven't had time to get to anything else yet, but I've got like 7 games downloaded, so. Although one of them is not working. I've tried to play Mutant Year Zero a couple of times now, and it won't launch, and I uninstalled it and went to reinstall it, and every time I try to do that, it just says error, and I haven't tried to figure out what's wrong yet. Other than an error.
Well, obviously. I mean, it's right there. It's on the 10.
Indeed. So, E3 2019. This year, we're doing things differently than we've done in the past. The last 2 years, or have we done E3 3 years now?
Yes.
This is year 3. So, the last 2 years, we basically went line item by line item for each of the conferences. Or at least the most interesting stuff, which with I think 9 conferences the past couple of years, there's been plenty of things to go through conference by conference. This year, as we have discussed a couple of times previously on the show, EA and Sony both did not do E3 anything. EA had a thing before E3 started on Saturday.
Yeah, they basically just did their EA Love.
and we said, fuck it. And Sony
I'm not
didn't
watching 9
participate.
hours of EA.
Yeah, neither am I. And Sony didn't participate at all. And then Nintendo, we did not cover this year because we don't have anything to do with Nintendo, really.
Well, also, kind of our rule has been press conferences only, because a couple of years ago they did a pseudo, stream, but this year it was a lot longer and a lot more involved. And they did announce some interesting things, but
I didn't even watch it.
They announced Breath of the Wild 2.
Electric Boogaloo. I haven't played Breath of the Wild 1, and I don't think I would like it anyways. Nothing against Zelda games or anything, but just there were a lot of small things with that game that I think would add up to annoy me, like the weapons breaking and the weird food crafting system.
Huh. How about that? You disliking food?
I know. It doesn't happen very often, but it does sometimes.
Unless there's coconut involved.
Yeah, I don't like coconut.
Tastes too much like soap.
I like coconut oil. That's good stuff.
Nope.
But I don't like coconut. Anything else coconut. But anyways, so things are a little bit different this year. Basically, we're just going to be going through and hitting the highlights on each of the conferences that premiered during the conference time. So
the conferences during the conference time.
Yeah, the conferences. The keynotes during the conference time. We're going to be talking about Microsoft, Bethesda, Devolver Digital, doing the PC gaming show, Ubisoft, and Square Enix. In that order. That's the order that they aired. But before we do that, any sort of opening general thoughts? We'll take some time to sum up our feelings on the whole thing.
Well, I had the worst luck this year.
Okay.
Because I had my connection go down. I had my connection go sluggish. I had actually had a brownout during one of the conferences. And I typically watch these live. So it was just, everything conspiring to make things more annoying than usual.
Yeah.
Which maybe I should just watch them tape, because, there is a lot that you can skip on these. But at the same time, I like to be able to, maybe get a couple followers on Twitter and just, air bullshit on Twitter, make up for all the months that I don't tweet anything by, mass tweeting in June, right?
Yeah. I typically don't watch them live just because of work and things. So, that didn't really change this year. But I had a very good, fun time watching them, even though in general I was fairly bored by them this year. Spoiler alert for most of what's going to come up. But, in my office, I've now got my TV mounted on the wall and my recliner, and I just kicked back in my recliner and watched in a very comfortable way. So I still had a good time watching them, even though generally I was not enthused by a lot of them.
Well, I did have a more comfortable chair this year, and I do have my usual multi-monitor setup, so...
Yeah. That would have been okay, too. I mean, if I'd sat over here at my desk chair is pretty nice and comfy, and multiple monitors means I could be doing other stuff, too. But I was like, you know what? I'm just going to kick back in the recliner, turn the AC on, and watch them on my TV. That's nice. Worked out well. But I don't really think I have anything else general to, I guess, talk about before we start going into the conferences. Because if I start talking generalities...
not going into particular conferences. It was just more, everything conspiring against me actually watching these live. I only watched 2 out of the 5 completely.
Yeah.
Even had my neighbors knocking at one point, which is a little bit of an unusual thing going on.
Asking about the internet?
Actually, no. This was a completely different one. Neighbor from across the hall had a ham bone and a couple of slices of ham for me, and you forgot to mute. So I got some ham during the Microsoft conference.
Nice.
I mean, I had to go back and watch the Battletoads trailer, but it was worth it.
Nah. I'm Battletoads. I miss Battletoads completely. So not in the conferences here, but I mean, like in general, like I've never played Battletoads, so I didn't really care when they showed it.
Oh, see, it's too old for you.
Probably.
It was an original NES game. And also, get off my lawn.
Alrighty. So,
first up, the best of conference EA ever did? None. So moving right along.
Yep. The first conference of the
actual year.
First conference of the year is the Microsoft conference. The only one of the big three to do like a conference.
Yeah.
Since Sony didn't bother to play, and Nintendo always does their weird like special directs.
Nintendo does Nintendo things.
Yeah. So what'd you think about the Microsoft conference this year? Good, bad, and different?
It wasn't bad. There was some definite highlights. I mean, the Keanu Reeves coming out, I think, is all over the internet right now.
Yes. Oh my God. There's been so much Keanu Reeves stuff I've seen since then. Not just about his Cyberpunk on stage reveal.
Just how wholesome he was.
Yeah. Keanu Reeves is a great dude.
I think that's why everybody's so latched onto this. Not just because of Keanu Reeves, but because he was so wholesome about it. In the middle of this bullshit shitstorm, we have this one genuine moment. Last year, it was last year, right? That Dragon Cancer during the PC Game Awards, the Game Awards show. A year ago, 2 years ago, something like that.
Yeah, it was either last year or the year before. I don't remember exactly, but it's been the last couple.
But you know what I'm talking about, that one genuine moment. Well, that Keanu Reeves was E3's this year.
Yeah. What was it that guy yells at him? Like, you're lovely or whatever? And he's like, no, you are. Yeah. Some guy in the audience.
And supposedly Keanu Reeves was completely ill-prepared at just how well he received he was going to be.
Yeah. He was so, like, happy. And so happy after the fact. Like, I've seen him, like, talk about it from some people that interviewed him. But I guess that was one of the biggest things for the Microsoft conference. Like, so my general thoughts on the Microsoft conference was there was a lot of stuff that I was like, huh, that's pretty cool.
Yeah,
and, like,
especially on their line item, game by game thing. But I think Microsoft is kind of ahead for me just because of that one genuine moment, and some info about their next console coming out as well. Not very detailed stuff yet, but it felt like they were a lot more streamlined than anything else.
I feel like they came ready to play this year. Like, even though I don't think that they were really like, oh my God, amazing. Like, everything they had was like solid all the way through. And they had a couple of good moments besides just Keanu Reeves and a couple of things that really interested me. But I felt like they were just like, you know what? We're here. We don't have any competition this year. It's our year to like lose it. So we're just not going to do that. And instead, we're just going to give a solid show. And they had, 30-something games?
Yeah, 30-some games. About? Yeah, and a lot of actually good-looking games as well. I think that's the other thing. I think Microsoft, outside of just the PC game show, which was solely games focused for obvious reasons, had the most games announced / shown, because there was a couple that was updates, like the Forza 4 was showing off the Lego expansion.
Yeah, which I showed my kid the trailer for that, and he wants to play Lego. Lego off-road racing is what he calls it. That's what he calls Forza, off-road racing. Because you can just drive off the road. He thinks it's so cool to be like, Daddy, just drive off the road. And we can.
Yeah, like Ninja Theory's Bleeding Edge, 4v4 competitive game. Yeah, it's fairly decent looking. More info on Cyberpunk 2077, which had Keanu Reeves. I have to say that the gameplay for that, them bleeping on the cuss words, kind of really took me out of it.
Yeah, it did me too. But I mean, they did that with some of the stuff they've been showing for Cyberpunk, like throughout the last year. Whenever you watch it somewhere, it'll have stuff bleeped and potentially blurred out, but then you go watch it directly from them, and it's not like that. So, I mean, I get why they did it, but it's, it still sucks.
Yeah, that guy would have lived if they didn't take the time to bleep.
It's like, I'm an adult, damn it. Let's talk about some of the things that stood out to us, because like I said earlier, the way we're doing this is kind of, we're going to highlight discuss generally, and then talk about the things that stood out to us the most. So, what did you have as things?
Yeah, I think the big standout moment is obviously Keanu Reeves. I mean, that kind of has to go without saying, doesn't it?
Yeah,
I think the
other definitely the top moment.
Yeah, I think really the other standout thing is starting to trickle out some info about the about their next console, Scarlet, and kind of in conjunction with that, the update on the Elite controller. So it makes me wonder if the Elite controller is kind of beta testing some improvements that we may see in the next version of the Xbox controller.
Maybe. I don't own.
I mean, not full on like the new version. It's going to have a built-in battery pack with a charging dock.
Yeah.
It has built-in memory for saving various profiles. Updated way to control the tension on the sticks. So I think a lot of that is, if not testing new technology for the next controller, seeing what the sweet spot is.
Yeah. I don't own an Elite controller, but I've used one before and have got to tweak some of that stuff. And the previous iterations of it have all been excellent. Like I don't use a controller enough to fork over the $100 and something it costs to buy one. I don't remember what the exact cost is, but if I use controllers more, I'd buy one in a heartbeat. They're solid. I just use input devices.
I use a PlayStation 4 controller that's emulated to be a 360 controller.
Yeah. Since you brought it up, Scarlet, the code name for the new Xbox. What did you? I mean, it was just kind of some very basic sort of PR speak. But what did you?
A lot of this is reduced load time. So an SSD. Wow. In a gaming focused console, holy shit.
Yeah, they're going to be using, what did they say, GDDR6, and they've got another AMD custom chipset, which really there was no information given unless something was released afterwards that I haven't seen.
Custom design Zen 2.
Yeah. It's going to be
That's supposedly 4 times more powerful than the Xbox One X.
Which an Xbox One X, I think comparatively, is about the same as a mid-range gaming PC. If I remember its specs correctly, I'm not going to go look them up. But no, it wasn't, because it was still less powerful than my PC.
Yeah, I think there's
like a mid-range gaming PC.
I think the most important takeaway from this, from all the Scarlet stuff was one line that they gave. Never seen before frame rates. And I put the little editorial note outside of PC. So are they actually going to go beyond 30 FPS and they're targeting 60? Or maybe 120?
The Scorpion, they said in the thing they were talking, they said frame rates, variable frame rate up to 120 frames per second. One of the people said that when in the reveal.
Variable frame rate could be a little iffy.
Yeah, but if they're saying that, because with the PS4 Pro and the Scorpion, not all games do this, but a lot of games offer you like 2 or 3 different modes to play the game on. You can play like a performance mode, which gives you higher frame rate and higher resolution. And then there's like a visual fidelity mode that like cranks up the graphics options and turns it down. And then I think there's like a balance mode for some games. I mean, it that is, exists with modern consoles. So they could be that they're going to do that, and they might set a new target. I mean, I would love it if they set their new baseline at 60 and then made it 120 as a potential target for like a performance mode or something like that.
And they also brought up the SSD being virtual RAM, which after hearing them talk about that, I had to think about that some more, and it made me remember something that at least the current consoles, the RAM in the console, it's not a dedicated pool of RAM. It's split between the CPU and the video card, or video chip, I guess I should say.
Yeah.
So I think that kind of ties into the variable frame rate. So if you have a more beautiful game, they'll be able to tap into the SSD and be able to pull more RAM than what they otherwise could. So essentially RAM caching.
Yeah, I was going to say, I was really I was befuddled by that. And then we had a quick discussion. You were like, well, what if it's caching? And I'm like, oh, I didn't even think about caching. Just because it's like, I don't know, I'm just so used to how...
It's a basic PC thing.
Yeah.
But then again, you could say that for a lot of console things.
Yeah. And I mean, I'm genuinely not trying to sound like smug about this. Like, I'm glad that consoles are finally catching up to PC performance again, because there was one point in history when consoles were as powerful or potentially more powerful than a PC, just because the dedicated hardware.
Yeah, then the consoles went through a 10-year generation cycle.
Yeah. So, I'm glad to see console gaming catching up to PC gaming in terms of potential fidelity and frame rate. So that makes me happy. The one thing that I was a bit confused about, but I know they have to do some future proofing, is they were talking about 8K. And I'm like, 4K displays are not even widespread yet. Why the hell are you going for 8K? But, some of that's future proofing, and some of that is just like...
a what-if scenario.
Yeah.
Because they don't want to basically be GameCubed, where... or do you even know what I'm talking about there? Where GameCube, they didn't put a DVD drive in.
Yeah, and they used the mini discs instead, and then they ran into issues.
Yeah. And they lost a lot of market share because people were using the PlayStation 2 and the Xbox for essentially DVD players, because for a while they were the cheapest option. Same with the PlayStation 4 when Blu-rays became more widespread. For quite a while, the PlayStation 4 was the cheapest / best Blu-ray player you could get.
Yeah. I actually bought a PS3 for that at one point. Like, it was like a used PS3.
Or PS3, sorry.
Yeah. I mean, now you can get a Blu-ray player for like, I don't know, $50. But at one point in time, they were way more expensive than that.
Yeah.
But anyways, yeah, so there's all of that.
And they've already said that it's going to have a disc drive.
Yeah.
So they're not going full Xbox sad yet.
I mean, I'm looking forward to its release, just so that I can, see.
No,
I doubt I'll buy one.
You're looking forward to its release because of what they announced that's going to be available for release.
Oh, the next Halo game?
Yeah.
Yeah, Halo Infinite or Halo Infinity?
Halo Infinite with the most unlucky space janitor outside of Isaac from the Dead Space series, it seems.
Yeah. The trailer for Halo Infinite, there's like this guy who's dying and freezing to death.
Trying not to.
And then he finds the Master Chief and he's like, aha, I'm saved. And he's like,
and he just gets ditched.
And that dude's like, and Master Chief is like, no, we've got to fight. And he runs off and he leaves the guy. And it's like, that dude just like used the rest of his power in his batteries to turn you back on, Chief. You just
to reboot your suit, essentially.
Yeah. But I mean,
I'm assuming that it makes a lot more sense in story because there's a shattered Halo and everything. And yeah, I have no idea.
I actually don't know what's up with that. Something might have happened in some DLC or something I haven't played. I'll have to play catch up, but
go read the novels.
Yeah. Or play the DLC for Halo Wars 2 because it deals with some of the stuff that happens after Halo 5. But anyways, I'm looking forward to that. I hope it's going to come to PC at this point. Like I have high hopes that it's going to. I mean, we've already known for a while this year that the Halo Master Chief Collection is coming to PC. And they announced before E3, but sort of cleared up some of the details on their PC Game Pass, which is the same as the Xbox Game Pass, except on PC. And there's some differences in games on it. But that's how you and I both have been playing Forza. It's currently $1.
I was going to bring that up. The Xbox PC Game Pass, which is confusing.
Yeah. But it's got 103 games on it right now. There's some good stuff. A lot of Xbox exclusives.
Yeah, there's some really good stuff. There is some crossover between the free stuff that you get with Twitch Prime, some of the Humble Bundle stuff, either through monthly or just the stuff that they're giving away there. But there's a lot of first-party stuff that is not really been available on PC outside of just the Windows Game Store.
Yeah, and even some of these things not at all. Because like, I'm just looking real quick. I guess they have been putting more stuff on the Windows Game Store. I'm not 100% sure what is or isn't on there, but
yeah, I'm purposely not fired it up because I didn't like the Windows Game Store.
Yeah, I don't either. But I mean, there's, like I said, there was 103 games on there right now. We've both been playing Forza 4.
I've also been playing some Opus Magnum, which is a puzzle game from Zachtronics on there.
I've got a half a dozen games downloaded right now. It's not without faults. For some reason, Mutant Year Zero just keeps saying error every time I try and play it or uninstall it and re-download it.
I'll have to try that to see if I get it as well.
But I mean, it's $1 for the first month during E3. I don't know when that promotion ends, and then it's $5 a month after that. Which $5 a month for access to 103 games?
I mean, that's a damn good deal, and we'll be talking about subscriptions a little bit later as well. But I would say the Xbox subscription is definitely worth it right now. Yeah, even if you don't get the $1 pass. If they bump it up to 10, that's when it's going to start to be a little bit of a tougher sale for me, just because it has a decent amount of crossover.
Yeah, I think I would stick it out for 10 for a while, as long as the games continue to be good, which I do like quite a few of the Microsoft first-party franchises. So if more of them continue to be added on, which they've said they will be, then I'd probably stick around for that. But we'll see. I mean, anything could happen or change, but I mean, I'll be on it for as long as it's $5 easy. Like, I'm sold.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I'll be sticking with it for the $5 range at the very least.
The only other really notable thing that stood out to me from the Microsoft conference, aside from what we already talked about, is the Minecraft dungeons.
Yeah, I was going to say they had their Minecraft thing, and it was an ARPG this year. I have to say, outside of the skin, it looked pretty bog standard. It didn't feel like Minecraft or anything that really sets it apart from essentially Diablo with a Minecraft skin. I'm not sure if they're going to try to do something that makes it more Minecrafty or what. I mean, that was just weird.
Yeah, I could get behind it as a cute novelty for a little bit of time, but I'm not a huge fan of ARPGs anyways.
I like my ARPGs. That's why it felt so bog standard to me, is that it didn't have anything that really stood out.
Yeah.
It just felt like it's Minecraft ARPG. Okay, well, Minecraft is all about the creativity and doing your own thing. So how is this going to be an ARPG with that mindset in it? And nothing in the trailer really stood out to me for it. If it comes to Game Pass, I'll try it.
What I think would be neat, and I mean, they didn't announce this at all, but I think it would be neat if you could, in Minecraft, build dungeons and then upload them to Minecraft Dungeons and then play them or like share them. I think that would be pretty cool and a good way to integrate it. I could imagine them not doing that, but they didn't mention that. So, but other than that,
that would actually work out fairly well. Or there's some sort of I hate using the term quick build mechanic going on, but that's the game that has the quick build right now. But something like that would make it more Minecraft-ish.
Yeah.
But Minecraft ARPG, that was a combination I wasn't expecting. I would think platform would have been a lot more likely than that. But I'm not going to write it off completely. Let's see, Battletoads is back, a cel-shaded version of it. I do have to say that I like the Saturday morning feel of it. And hey, it has 3-player couch co-op. So there is that.
Woo.
What? Couch co-op is kind of a rarity these days. You don't see it too often. Double Fine is an Xbox studio now.
Yep, and they're releasing Psychonauts 2.
Well, we knew they were releasing Psychonauts 2, but now we know that they're not going to run out of money to do so.
Yeah, that's fair.
So it won't be a space-based situation, which is still bullshit.
The weirdest thing for me that came out of the Microsoft conference was the Blair Witch game.
Yeah,
like I saw
some sort
that
of time loop game.
Yeah, I saw that and I was like, "Is this a Blair Witch thing?" And
I wasn't
then
sure what to mark it as because to me, because I'm not a horror fan, a lot of horror looks the same to me.
Yeah, I'm also not a horror fan. I just happen to know Blair Witch a little bit better from a lot of the film stuff that I listen to and watch, because Blair Witch is like an important touch point in horror film history. So it gets talked about and used as like a comparison point a lot. So I'm familiar with it, I guess, by osmosis. But I just thought it was weird. Like, I don't know how they're going to turn that into a good game, but hey, maybe it will be.
There's two other ones to take note of. RPG Time Legend of Right looked really interesting. Do you recall that one? That was all the hand-drawn stuff in a giant book.
Oh, yeah. That was neat. It had slipped my mind.
Yeah, it looks so Nintendo-ish, doesn't it?
It basically does. At first, I thought it...
to be.
Yeah, at first I thought it was going to be a partnership with the Nintendo thing, because Microsoft and Nintendo have partnered up on some stuff in the last year or so. And then, it wasn't, but it looked really neat.
Yeah, this is why I go line item by line item, because I could go back and look at these. But yeah, it's really charming and has some interesting, almost imagination-driven gameplay mechanics. Pushing around erasers around this giant book, and a lot of hand-drawn, low frame rate animation that looks really interesting. And I have to say that also, just the lack of applause for Wasteland 3 was pretty noteworthy to me. Just that, it seemed like nobody in the audience really cared when they went absolutely batshit about DLC.
Yeah.
So it was
Wasteland.
Sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, Wasteland is a game that I have wanted to get into for a long time, and I've never really tried or never really gotten past the initial bit. But seeing that one was or Wasteland 3 is going to be set in Colorado, I was like, okay. Just because, my in-laws live in Colorado. I was like, okay, well, that, maybe I should actually really play Wasteland 2. Yeah, go see my in-laws.
And that was really about it. I mean, a couple of things here or there. Essentially a Lego-esque thing from Funko Pop with Gears of War was interesting.
I think it's called Gears Pop.
Yeah, Gears Pop.
I think they announced that last year, but it was just like a tease. We didn't know anything about it, and it's a mobile, sort of like tower defense or
lane pusher is what I put it down as.
Thing.
I put it down as lane pusher, but I'm a little concerned about monetization with the mobile aspect of it.
Yeah,
but yeah.
But like I said at the beginning, like the Microsoft conference had a lot of stuff, and I'm like, oh, that's neat, that's solid, that's interesting. Not no one. There were a few things. Very few things really stood out to me. But I think what I took away from it was like, wow, there's all this stuff that I'm kind of interested in, and most of it or a lot of it is now on PC thanks to their Game Pass. Sweet, yeah. I'm in for Game Pass, so they sold me on that.
Yeah, I mean, they didn't really talk about Game Pass all that much on there, which was a little bit shocking.
They talked about.
They talked about it a little bit, but not much.
Yeah, and then they talked about their Ultimate Pass, which is Xbox Game Pass, PC Game Pass, and Xbox Live Gold for like $15 a month.
Yeah, which is still a hell of a deal.
Yeah.
And we'll get to another group that had the same idea, but at the wrong time, it seems.
Yeah, because with Gold, you do get discounts on anything you buy.
Well, same with the PC Pass. If you...
Yeah, but with Gold, you get like special Gold discounts on stuff. And then also you get their games with Gold, which is like their air quotes free games they give you every month. It's 4 games that you get to keep like forever.
Yeah.
Air quotes forever. Like they don't go away when you don't have Gold anymore. Mm-hmm. But, at some point, I'm sure they won't be compatible with future devices.
Yeah, but with the Xbox coming to PC more, who knows, right?
Yeah.
So, any final thoughts on Microsoft, or move along?
No, I think we're good to move along.
So, Bethesda. Bethesda was just sad.
It was sad.
Bethesda, it feels like kicking a puppy that can't help but constantly shit itself and then roll around in
it. Yeah. Bethesda only had a handful of things that a handful of things that they announced. They're turning Fallout 76 into a game? Question mark?
Yeah. Well, okay, we'll jump to that. So they had two major things from Fallout 76. One was their expansion that I'm pretty sure was a free expansion as well. That their big thing was human NPCs, dialogue choices, and it's like the fact that this is highlights for a Fallout game expansion is ridiculous. That should tell you just how utterly bare bones Fallout 76 launched in.
Yeah. Bethesda had the Woo Girls out again too.
Yeah.
Actually, it was a dude this year that was like fucking hyped for everything.
Yeah, was there like a 3-drink minimum to be in the broadcasting section of the crowd?
There must have been. They definitely paid people. They definitely.
They tried really hard to humanize themselves. Between that and bring in like the entire fan base of Fallout 76, including one girl that was dressed as a Batman villain for some reason.
Which one was she?
The system analyst. She's the only one that stuck out to me. All the other ones were kind of bog standard, but she had like eyeshadow that went down to halfway to her ear.
Oh, I just thought of her in my head as Goth Girl.
Yeah, I went Batman villain.
That's fair.
Because honestly, Gotham. Because the Goth Girls I knew, they would not be caught dead in that. They would not be caught undead in that. But they tried really, really hard to deflect any criticism because, hey, we have fans, look.
Yeah. They didn't sell me on any of that stuff. I mean, Bethesda's conference was just fucking sad all around. They had nothing that was interesting to me.
The one highlight they had was Doom Eternal, and they're publishing that. It's not even their own game.
Yeah. The cinematic trailer for the Elder Scrolls Online update was really cool, but I've played Elder Scrolls Online. That game does not play anything like that at all.
I had no idea what the hell was going on in that. That was the one with all the lore, right?
There was the one where they're fighting the dragon.
Yeah, because remember they wanted dragons and everything.
Yeah, there was that dude who was like, put dragons in everything.
No, do not put dragons in anything or everything, because that didn't work with the undead in Oblivion. It got old. And besides, Bethesda's proven that they can't do dragons unless they make them fly backwards.
Very cool reversing dragons. They're bringing the blades to or Elder Scrolls Blades to Switch, which
Switchblade.
Switchblade. The Commander Keen thing was really annoying. I just found myself getting annoyed at that. Is that like me being an old man?
Yes.
Commander Keen was before my time, but I've played Commander Keen.
I never got to play Commander Keen.
It was one of the games that was in my computer lab in like middle school, because it was a bunch of really old like Apple IIs and things like that.
The Oregon Trail, that sort of thing.
Yeah. So I've played Commander Keen, Oregon Trail, a few other, classic PC games. So I just found myself getting really frustrated. If it wasn't a mobile title, I probably would be a little kinder to it. But as soon as I saw it was a mobile game, I'm like, oh, this
mobile title and what looks like to be some gacha mechanics. Just based on the on how they had the card set up.
Yeah, and I'm just done with that. Just done with it.
Yeah, you thought I was joking when I called it a gacha game, but look at the screenshots, right?
Yeah.
I would say that the intro to Rage 2's expansion was quirky and kind of fun, but honestly did not interest me in the slightest.
Yeah, I liked the fun video, but I don't really care about the game, so...
well, so does most people.
It's like it struck a Borderlands tone with me, but like in a good way. I did like the trailer for Deathloop, that looked kind of interesting. It reminded me a lot of Dark Tower.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you've ever
read... split parallel story going on as well.
Yeah, but I don't know if anyone out there has ever read the Dark Tower book or seen the more recent Dark Tower movie adaptation. Book's way better than the movie, but you can get a kind of general gist for the book from watching the movie. But it just it really struck me with that kind of vibe, and I was like, okay, this is neat. But it was just a cinematic trailer, so we have no other information about it.
Yeah, that's another thing. Well, that's more of an E3 problem in general, is that you usually count the number of times you see actual gameplay on one hand from a conference.
Yeah. And then I guess Doom, is that the only thing left? I was kind of saving that for last.
Well, they had their streaming thing, that some sort of streaming engine, which the Orion streaming thing. But they went into a lot of technical jargon that kind of made my eyes glaze over. And I got to be perfectly honest here. When Bethesda talks about doing a game engine, it makes me a little worrisome about using it.
That's fair.
Maybe it's just me being a dick. I don't know. But yeah, there's just there's a couple. There's Wolfenstein.
Yeah, but we've gotten a ton of information about Wolfenstein.
Well, this is just the two Wolfenstein games.
Do what? Say that again.
The two Wolfenstein games.
Haven't we seen stuff about them though? Was this the first time reveal for any of it? I could have swore that all of that stuff had been premiered already.
I think the VR game was premiere. So hey, there's something for Jim, right?
I guess maybe I saw a leak about that at some point, but that wasn't new to me.
Or at least I never seen anything about it. But then again, I don't exactly follow Wolfenstein all that closely, so it could be me.
I'm not sure.
But yeah, there was a definite mobile focus going on at Bethesda, which kind of put me off as well. I mean, they highlighted both Fallout Shelter and Elder Scrolls Legends, and had Blades going to Switch, which I still consider that a mobile game, even if it's on a console.
Yeah.
I mean, I have some tolerance for timers in a video game. I mean, just look at Warframe, but Warframe also, it doesn't bring progression to a dead halt because you could go do other things. You're not going to go through 3 timers.
And timers can be utilized to promote other content within a game or to enhance the experience in some way. But
how Warframe does it is that whenever you're building something, it has usually either a 12, 24, or a 3-day timer, or a 12-hour timer, a 24-hour timer, or a 3-day timer. Classes building a new Warframe is usually a 3-day timer, with the parts being 12-hour timers forward. So usually about 3.5 day or so timer. But it's more, you set it and then you go do something else. Weapons, you as you're building one, you're going and leveling up another one. For something like Elder Scrolls Blades, progression comes to a dead stop.
Yeah,
and there's no way around it.
Yeah, EVE Online is basically timers, spreadsheets, and backstabbing. But again, there's so many things that you can do once you set the stuff that needs a timer.
Mm-hmm.
That it doesn't grind the game to a halt. So yeah, mobile games can be good. I have played several mobile games in the last year or so, like actual genuinely good mobile games, or just real games that happen to be on a mobile platform. And I'm sure there's more of them. Yeah, Guild of Engineering, or my brain keeps wanting to say Pandemic, but it's not Pandemic. It's the where you play the disease. Plague Inc.
Mm-hmm.
That's it, Plague Inc.
Motorsport Manager, Galaxy Trucker.
You Must Build a Boat, Galactic Frontlines, Star Realms.
So it is possible to do a mobile game that's fun. I mean, to be fair, a fair chunk of what I've named is either free demo and then you pay a couple bucks to get the full game, or pay immediately.
Yeah, but I'm okay with paying money to have a mobile game. as long as it's a good game. I would rather do that. I'm fed up with bullshit timers in games anymore. I don't have time in my life for that.
Especially whenever they bring all progression to a dead stop. Basically taking the Clash Royale-esque approach to it, where if you are playing while you have all your timers running, you're wasting time.
Yeah. Well,
just like we are even covering Bethesda.
Yeah, it wasn't a very good conference. But Doom, we didn't really talk about Doom.
Well, I didn't really play the first, or I haven't played the first one, so it's kind of lost on me outside of, hey, more Doom. It does look like more of the same, which is not a bad thing per se. But they're talking about interdimensional and going to heaven, which is a little strange for Doom. Where are we going to be killing angels now? What have we gone full Darksiders now? Are we going to be ripping the wings off of angels?
Sounds great. I'm in. But I mean, yeah, Doom Eternal does look like just more Doom, more in a sense like, hey, let's have some more, and also more as in like, hey, we're gonna go even more sort of wild and crazy with this stuff, and I'm okay with that. Like I've played the first Doom remaster or re-release or whatever, and it's an extremely good game. Yeah, reboot. It's an extremely good game. So, more of that, please. Sounds good. They were advertising too, like some like multiplayer modes or something.
Yeah, an asymmetric multiplayer called. Let me go through my notes. Scroll. Battle mode, inventive. A 2v1, 2 demons versus 1 slayer, with the demons also being able to summon AI controlled demons to fight against a single slayer. It's interesting. There's some definite concerns about balance, of course, because 2v1, but at the same time, it's either that or you have Slayer versus Slayer, which honestly didn't sound like it worked all that well in the original Doom remake. That it felt like they were all gimped from everything that I heard. So this allows you to have a full powered Doom guy versus some really badass demons in theory. And also maybe it's just me, all right? And we'll get back to the multiplayer mode. But I was looking at my notes, and they were talking about the collector's edition, and people cheering for a collector's edition in a Bethesda conference seems like a bad time,
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say, I think that this is based off of a mod or one of the custom created game modes, because in Doom 1, an original remaster, whatever, there was they had modding tools and map tools that you could get, and then also the game had some pretty sick customization stuff in there for creating multiplayer game modes and custom maps and things. I think that this was like one of the most popular ones, and then they put it in kind of like how Halo did with Zombies mode. There's like a modded multiplayer game type, and they introduced it into the full game as an official mode.
Well, we saw a few games that were basically mods for various games that came in, like what was it in the Microsoft conference? It was the Ghost one. That was essentially Prop Hunt.
Yeah, I forget the name of the Ghost game.
Yeah, I'm scrolling
Midnight
through
something.
I want to be sure to get this because it looked interesting. And I'm not seeing it on my list now. Of course, I'm not, right?
Yeah,
that figures, huh?
I didn't take notes on that one, so it's okay though. Think Ghostbusters plus Prop Hunt, and that's the game.
Midnight Ghost Hunt. I see it now. It actually wasn't in the Microsoft conference. It was in the PC Gaming Show conference.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, we saw a few games that were essentially either Gary's mod game modes or game mods for various games that came in. And yeah, that's one good example is Midnight Ghost Hunt, which we'll get to in a little bit.
Indeed. But I don't really have anything else to add about Bethesda. It was boring and stupid, and I skipped more of it than any of the other conferences together. Like, just
there was that one joke that Todd Howard shouldn't have been making.
Which one?
Well, okay, all of them, but the joke about people still being there.
Oh, yeah. Boo.
Yeah, I shouldn't be making that joke. And also, he wants to make the post-apocalypse kinder and gentler in Fallout 76, really?
Yeah.
I guess somebody's been, not playing games based on the post-apocalypse. But then again, somehow Todd Howard, plays games in general.
Yeah. Sometimes I wonder about that. How many games do these devs and CEOs and whatnot actually play?
How about we talk about some devs that actually seem to get it?
Yeah. So the next conference on the list is Devolver Digital. So
the Devolver, what was it, Happy Fun Conference or something? The same name that they've used a couple times.
Yeah.
Oh.
As far as their games go, like, Devolver makes good games. I just typically am not into them. So from that perspective, like, I wasn't super into this one. They had a couple of neat things.
Yeah,
but
probably the most interesting. There's two that's really interesting from the 5 that they announced. It was actually a pretty light year for Devolver, but Fall Guys looks essentially like Death Run from Gary's Mod. Only cuter, mixed with some Mario Party and maybe a little bit of Battle Royale, or sort of like a most extreme elimination challenge.
Yeah.
I mean, assuming that it gets a player base behind it, which is going to be the difficult part, that could be a lot of fun, or a good mass LAN party game.
The one game they had that really stuck out to me is Carrion.
Yeah,
which
the
is reverse horror game.
Yeah.
Where you play the creature monstery thingy that escaped, and you're going through and destroying the facility and killing everyone.
Go ahead.
I've discussed, when we've done pitch a game and things a couple of times, and I've said this even just in general in conversation on the show, and between the two of us in general. I hate horror games, but I'm fascinated by the idea of playing the scary, the horror monster. And I've pitched for a lot of game series like Batman, where you play, in that case, you would be the bad guys, making that into a horror game, or playing a horror game where you're the monster. And there's probably other horror games that exist out there like that I'm not aware of, just because I'm not big in the horror genre. But seeing this, I was like, ooh, I want this. But anyways, that was the only game that really interests me. Fall Guys looked kind of neat, but I'm not familiar with.
I played a bit of Death Run back in the day, and it had that sort of Japanese extreme reality game show going on about it. A good example, in American TV, would be Ninja Warrior. The obstacle course that you have to go through, and it's a very slim chance that somebody will get through. That sort of idea.
Yeah.
Or what's the more family oriented one? Splash Something. That was on ABC for a while.
Oh, I don't know.
Essentially, it was a bunch of just ridiculous obstacles over a lake.
Yeah.
And of course, my friend Pedro also, but it was an old trailer, but still looked really good.
Yeah.
It's essentially side scroller Deadpool.
Mm-hmm. The Devolver bootleg thing was kind of neat. At first, I thought that was a joke, and then it's oh no, this is a real thing. But it's how many their games is it? Is it 8? 8 games that they have that they've made rip-off versions, but air quotes.
Yeah, now I'm blanking on the name of it, and I'm gonna have to go find it on. It's an actual Steam release, by the way.
Yeah,
because they did a link that they were calling their gray market site that bounced back to Steam.
Yeah. and it's currently 1% off. But let's see, what games do you get? Enter the Gun Dungeon.
The Devolver bootleg. Enter the Gun Dungeon. Hotline Milwaukee. Ape Out Jr. Snooty Boots. Super Absolver Mini Turbo Fighting Championship. 2-player only. Castlevania. Peekaboo Ball Stars. And Lift Trousers.
Yeah. I thought that was cute.
I mean, just a blow to, first of all, gray market sites again, because they made a comment about it last year, I think. And then just the kind of just bullshit rip-off asset flip games as well. I mean, I doubt that they'll keep this up, but it was hilarious.
What do you mean, just keep this up? Like, keep doing stuff like this?
Oh, no. I mean, keep this particular game up, the Devolver bootleg. I imagine that they'll delist it at some point, and the people that bought it will still get to keep it.
I wouldn't be surprised if it actually goes away June 16th, which is when that 1% off promotion ends. That would be Devolver. I think that would be a very Devolver move. But that was just about everything. I think that
they continued the storyline from the previous 2 years.
Oh yeah, no, I was just going to finish talking about the game stuff and then talk about their presentation or their essentially their short film at this point.
Well, they also threw shade at Nintendo in doing it.
Yeah, well, Nintendo and Sony, because Sony's been doing it too this year. Sony's done a few.
You mean EA? Things. It was EA Direct. Sony didn't do anything, did they?
No. Sony's been doing direct stuff. Oh. Like, I assume that they were like, EA directly for E3, but Sony has copied the Nintendo Direct model and has been doing, I forget what they call them, but basically Sony Directs for the last couple of months. It's just, I'm not into anything Sony, so
instead of Nintendo Treehouse, it's the, like the Sony Pillow Fort or something.
Actually, that sounds really cute. I want to go to the Sony Pillow Fort. But yeah, so that's about it. Did you mention the Enter the Gungeon light gun cabinet?
Enter the Gungeon, Enter the Gun Dead, which is a light gun arcade cabinet. Which sounds weird to be releasing, but there's this resurgence of the arcade in the United States, but they're combining it with bars to make barcades. Yeah. Hey, one way to get an arcade to be profitable, booze.
Booze will make just about anything profitable.
I mean, just look at this casino model, right?
Yeah.
Somebody winning too much? Here, have a free cocktail. But it actually looked like cocktails. But it actually looked like a fairly decent light gun game, which that's something that you really can't do at home outside of a Nintendo console, because they are the one that has the hardware for it. But even then, it's relying on gyroscopes and everything. It's not a proper light gun game like this.
Yeah. So I think it's pretty neat. I mean, I'm not really interested. Like, if I was ever somewhere and I saw it, I would check it out. But I assume it'll be like, we were talking about Killer Queen before, which is a barcade sort of only type game. Like, I'd imagine that it would be kind of like that. There'd be locations where you could go play it if you were interested. Maybe it'll come to Dave & Buster's. There's one of those in Atlanta. You could go down there and check it out. But anyways, that was pretty neat. But yeah, the actual conference that they did was amazing and very entertaining, hilarious.
Yeah, so last year, now I'm blanking on the character that killed her, or nearly killed her.
Well, I mean, they killed her, and then they did a whole RoboCop thing and made her a cyborg. But I don't remember who it was who killed her either.
Oh, it was a character from one of their games, but I'm blanking on it now. But they went through this whole RoboCop sequence of trying to get her to work, but they couldn't because they're Devolver. They're game developers. They're not in the business of making robots. So they decided to just use her brain as essentially a processor to run their Devolver Direct.
Mm-hmm.
So the entire conference was in her brain.
And she's like having a meltdown throughout this whole thing.
Because the marketing director is constantly trying to upload various protocols to her. Essentially RoboCop.
Yeah.
First of all, they attack her ability to cuss.
Yep, she can't swear. Well, no, she can swear like occasionally, but she can't swear a lot. She says things like flim flam and whatever. And she's like, "What is this flippity flop?" Oh, it was hilarious.
Yeah, and also allowed them to be a lot more gruesome. Like whenever they did Carrion, the announcement for it, the guy just had a tentacle burst out of his chest and he blew up.
Yeah, and then they had like a guy in like a really shitty like bodysuit, which was
Japanese,
perfect.
Japanese kaiju-esque like 1950s.
And she's like chastising him. She's like, "What are you doing? The reveal's not for whatever. Like, why are you still here? Or why are you here now?" And he's like, "Oh, sorry, my bad." She's like, "Yeah, you're bad."
And at the end,
yeah, it went from RoboCop to Terminator.
Yeah. So we're having some sort of time travel now.
Apparently, I don't know. Terminator was a thing though this year. Like there were several conferences that had Terminator stuff in it. Like one of the Ubisoft games had a Terminator in it.
Gears of War has a pre-order bonus for Terminator stuff.
Yeah, and then one of the Ubisoft games, I'm not a blank on which one, but had a Terminator tie-in as well.
Yeah, I must have skipped over that because I don't have a note on the Terminator thing for there.
Yeah,
but yeah, it was. Now, did they call it or did they already know?
I don't know. Right? I don't know. It could have just been a coincidence. Like, they're going from sort of an 80s trope to 80s trope, and so they went from RoboCop to Terminator.
Almost makes me wish they went Back to the Future then.
Maybe that's what we'll get next year, is Back to the Future.
Yeah, because I remember how it should have ended, which was a combination of Terminator and Back to the Future.
Yeah. I love how it should have ended.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's kind of sad that we're talking more about Devolver's what they did as their conference rather than their game more. But I think that's this kind of a running theme is that everything felt very light. This felt like an off year. And that's mostly due to both Sony not being there and Microsoft and Sony kind of gearing up for next year's release of their new consoles.
Yeah.
And I imagine EA is going to be back in a major way next year as well, just because of the new consoles.
We'll see. I mean, they would definitely have a presence at the big conferences, but I don't know if they would, if they're coming back.
I mean, I won't miss them, but it wouldn't surprise me if they came back for the year that the consoles came back.
Yeah. I wouldn't be surprised if that happened, but I don't necessarily expect it at this point. But, I mean, I guess we'll see. But I mean, Devolver the first year it was like just really weird and kind of out of left field. But now that it's an established thing, like Devolver continuing to do this helps make them a really big talking point.
Yeah,
it gives them something that stands out.
They kind of solidly moved into the AA space.
Yeah,
just on notoriety, I should say, not budget. But I mean, they have the Shadow Warrior series going on. I mean, they published that.
Yeah.
I mean, Devolver has a pretty good stable now, so calling them the AA is probably not too far off. It's just they're more noteworthy because they do their wacky shit.
Their conference is, I think, satire at this point.
Yeah. It was satire the first year. It's just we didn't really get it because we didn't understand it,
Yeah, we didn't quite get where they were coming from. Although the first year, I think I might have said parody instead of satire. I mean, subtle difference, but there is a difference in parody and satire. I think it's satire now, because I don't feel like they celebrate those practices. I feel like they take the piss out of them.
Oh, definitely.
So,
I mean, the moment that they went the Devolver bootleg, I mean, yeah, right?
Yeah. So, yeah, I don't think I have anything else to say about Devolver. I mean, it was a fun show. Probably my favorite from a presentation standpoint.
Yeah.
But, again,
it feels weird to look forward to the story of a press conference.
I know. It's cool, though.
So moving right along.
Indeed. The next conference is the PC Gaming Show.
Powered by Epic Store. And boy, you can tell Epic really funded this one. It was way scaled back and hardly functional. Yeah.
I like I still like the PC Gaming Show as one of my favorite ones because they feel the most genuine when the developers come up there. They ask them some questions. They talk a little bit more.
Yeah, it was a lot more game-centric.
Yeah, and it doesn't feel like they're reading a teleprompter. Like, everyone else, you can pretty much always tell. Hell, sometimes even in the shots, you can see the teleprompters that they're reading. But, if they have that for the PC Gaming Show, they hide it a lot better, so it feels more genuine. And they did fun little things.
Non kind of telegraphs his questions a little too well, right?
Yeah. I mean, they do still ask plenty of softball questions, but, it feels much more genuine, more like maybe like a TV talk show sort of thing. Like, hey, here's the game. Talk about it for a few minutes.
If it was a TV talk show, they would still have their desk.
That's fair. You're very hung up on the desk this year, or the lack of desk.
Well, it's more, they should have had something, right?
Yeah.
It was more, I think, indicative of just how scaled back it was, though, because they had like this fashion show walkway that they came out, and it looked like, a third of the people that they had last year. I mean, an extremely small audience.
Yeah, it feels like it's been very streamlined, and I think that I think most of the audience, I mean, there's proportionally way more people that watch this stuff online, but I think they probably have discovered that for the PC Gaming Show, most of the people watching it are going to be at home, and so they don't need to spend as much for a big presentation hall. I mean, that's just my guess. I feel like it's pretty popular, and with backing from Epic, even though Epic sucks, they still would have given them like a shitload of money, I'm sure, to be the main sponsor or whatever. So, I liked some of the little bits that they did, and I can't remember this woman's real name because she looks so much like Madani from the Punisher TV series. I just keep thinking of her as Madani, but
who?
The lady, the British lady.
Oh, the Frankie.
Frankie.
Co-host?
Yeah, the co-host.
The one that during Maneater had the shark
costume on. Yeah, the shark onesie. I laughed so hard at that. I loved that. I love her. She's not as good as Aisha Taylor, but she's close. But I liked some of that stuff, and having the two of them go back and forth gives them a good way to hide the setup time for the next bit. So it felt like that there was still a decent clip moving through the conference. There was a couple of the sort of blatant advertising sections that I didn't really like, but it could be worse.
What was it? The Samsung curved display. I mean,
yeah, which I was kind of interested in, but at the same time, I'm like, I'm not sure why. Okay, no, the chair, the gamer chair.
The chair.
I like how it's like the best part about the second being sponsored by whatever gaming chairs is that I get to sit down for this next segment. I'm like, okay, sure. I mean, it could be a lot worse.
That's why they didn't have the desk, because they had to bring in the chair sponsor.
Yeah. I guess I'm being a little nitpicky on that one. There's way worse things this conference could have done. There's way worse things other conferences have done.
I mean, thankfully, this one didn't have too many Epic Game Store exclusives, but they did have some notable ones. I mean, Shenmue 3 has really pissed some people off.
Yeah, we'll talk about that in just a second. But every time I saw something that was like Epic Store, I was like, oh no, is this still on Steam? Because there were quite a few games they brought up that I've had wishlisted on Steam before, or like they did their little montage. And thankfully, everything that I was interested in was also on Steam,
Oh,
at least for now.
What's getting old to me is at the end of every trailer, I'm having to go look to see, okay, does it have the Steam icon? Or does it have an icon for a store that I actually would patron at some point?
Same. But anyways, what was the thing you just said before? I was like, actually, before we do that, let me mention this for a second.
Shenmue 3.
Shenmue 3, right. So Shenmue
another
3...
Kickstarter game that's gone back on promises and it's gone Epic Game Store exclusive and has outright refused to do refunds. And hey, didn't they do an announcement for the Kickstarter on the Sony stage? What was it, 3 years ago now?
Yeah.
Huh.
Yep. They've now triple dipped. They have done Kickstarter, Sony, and Epic.
I was going to say, what, did they do Fig as well?
No, I don't think so.
Me.
Maybe, but I don't think so. I was not interested in Shenmue really from the begining.
I had a slight curiosity, mostly because people kept talking about it, you know?
Yeah.
And not the kept talking about it that annoyed me.
And even when they got in bed with Sony, I can kind of understand a game like Shenmue 3. Like, yeah, it got like $9 or $10 million on Kickstarter, but the game needs more money than that. So obviously, I can understand doing that one time a little bit, but now they've done it twice, and it's just like, wow, guys.
And essentially, Epic isn't really paying for exclusivity anymore. They're more paying to keep games off Steam, but allows them everywhere else. Like a couple of the Epic Game Store exclusives are actually going to the Xbox Store, and I'm blanking on which ones now. So I'm sound like an idiot bringing that up and not remembering which ones. But yeah, it's getting just egregious.
Yeah. I think it's interesting you saying that, actually. Metro Exodus.
Yeah, Metro Exodus. That was one. That's actually on the Game Pass, isn't it?
Yeah, it's on Game Pass. So, fuck you guys. Epic, that is. But yeah, I saw that. I was like, huh, that's interesting. I guess because it's on console, Microsoft can put it in their Game Pass and get away with it from a contracting perspective. And Microsoft gave them a big, two middle fingers when they were like, we want players to have choice with where they get their games on PC, and put a bunch of their games on Steam. And then now they've got their Game Pass thing. It's like shots fired. Microsoft is really pushing hard to get back into the PC gaming market.
Yeah,
they realized that they've got a massive audience sitting there with so much market share on the Windows platform. I
wonder just what the install base is on the Xbox Game Pass now on PC.
I don't know. Probably pretty high.
I know it's going to be artificially inflated with the $1 deal, but in 2 or 3 months, was the install base on that going to be? I imagine it's going to be absolutely massive.
Yeah.
But Shenmue 3, and the fact that they still have the trailer on Steam talking about the 2019 release. Oh, so
yeah.
Anything that really stood out here? I would say Evil Genius looked really interesting, or Evil Genius 2, I should say.
Let me.
That was the first one that they showed. Base building game sequel. Looks like it retained a lot of the charm from the old game. If you never played Evil Genius, you are an evil genius and you're trying to take over the world and do essentially Dr. Evil-esque things like stealing monuments and just doing wacky shit. But the base building aspect of it is really interesting, where you set up these death traps and it really reward you with being creative about it, like bouncing a secret agent that may stumble into your base through a bunch of fans and cutting them up with lasers, or feeding them to sharks with freaking laser beams on their heads, that sort of thing. But also you have to be careful because your minions may also trigger the traps if your vibrator's going off.
Oh, oops, that's my Star Wars RPG alarm, which comes through even when my phone's on silent because it's an alarm. because tonight's supposed to be Star Wars RPG night. It's fine. I mean, we canceled.
Obviously.
Editing note. I'm good. My apologies. Carry on.
But it reward you with extra things if you killed agents with style, but you also had to be careful because if you employed minions that were below a certain threshold of stupidity, you may, accidentally kill a few of your minions that may deplete your numbers in your base. And also you had super agents that would come in and cause a lot of trouble that had very particular weaknesses, and that was the only way to eliminate them. And it looks like this retains a lot of that charm. And they showed in the trailer the same idea of, a trap that is built around Rube Goldberg-esque complexity. So I'm looking forward to seeing what they do with Evil Genius 2.
Yeah. I had a few games that I put on a list that really caught my eye in one way or another. There was a decent amount of stuff that I was like, that's interesting. Although several things at the PC Gaming Show had been shown last year.
It was more fleshed out this year, or is an expansion or a patch. Like Warframe did a tease for their TennoCon next month for their next major expansion. There was one other MMO on here, I think, that did some sort of patch or something that, or Final Fantasy did a big thing on the Square Enix thing. So,
yeah, but so I'll just read them off here, and we can talk about any that you feel interested enough in, or that I feel interested enough in. But these are the ones that stuck out to me the most. Starmancer.
That's on mine.
Okay, then let's just go ahead there.
Well, the moment that they uttered the phrase Dwarf Fortress, that sends expectations up several notches. And Dwarf Fortress is a very, very hard game to follow because it's been in development for a decade now. It's an extremely deep, complex, and rewarding experience. And the fact that they're putting it on a space station, which is already a bit tougher to deal with, it's interesting to see what they're going to do with it. We've seen a fair number of space station games come out, but I don't think any of them are ever really shown. So maybe Starmancer could do it. I don't know.
Yeah, I hope so. I really liked the look of this game and sort of the little story they told in the trailer.
Yeah, it looked
about how it's like some kind of repeating cycle. Like they're working that into the game. It looks like from the trailer, like if you fail, you like start over, and the AI, which is you, like you're playing the AI, it's like, okay, maybe I can do better this time. And then it like starts over and it's like, hello, welcome to whatever and it plays like through the intro again, and then the trailer ends. So I like that. I find that very intriguing.
Yeah, essentially trying to work, it's fun to lose into the game loop itself, which could work. It's a very tough thing to do, but if they do it.
Yeah. Plus I'm a sucker for sci-fi stuff, so.
Yeah, and graphically, go look at No Moria. It has about the same art style.
Okay.
Only that's, fantasy with gnomes. One for me, and then we'll get back to your list. Baldur's Gate.
Baldur's Gate was on mine too.
I mean, the fact that Studio Lorien is at the helm tells me that at least gameplay is going to be on par, or spot on, because they knocked it out of the park with the Divinity Original Sin series. Didn't care for some of their other stuff, like Dragon Commander, but they usually have fun ideas, even if they don't, get executed all that well. They're interesting. They're unique. So the fact that they're at the helm of Baldur's Gate, and from the sound of things, they really tightened up the story in Divinity Original Sin 2 that we're going to have to play at some point. Devote a year or two, right? Yeah.
I personally, I've played the first two Baldur's Gates. I don't know if there were any sort of expansions or spin-offs.
There was plenty of expansions.
Right. Well, spin-offs, I guess, is what I meant. I haven't played all the expansions for sure. But one issue that I've always had with Baldur's Gate series has to do more with the older versions of D&D, just because of how complex they are. And they said that they were using 5th edition as the baseline, which is a lot more sort of new player narrative friendly. So I'm hoping that some of the complexity is down a little bit, which some people might hate that. I understand. But, I'm would like to engage with D&D stuff again. I've actually been considering trying to run a D&D campaign because no one in my local area seems to want to stick around for a Star Wars RPG campaign, which is fine. I've got the one that I play with the people from our audience, but I want to have more RPG stuff in my life because I love writing RPG stories and campaigns and rolling with that stuff. So I think more people just know D&D, and it's easier to get people involved in a fantasy setting. But anyways, I'm just excited from that. I've gotten more personally invested in Dungeons and Dragons in the last year because of 5th edition, making it so much easier.
Especially with Studio Lorien basically taking the rule book and trying to code it as much into the game as possible to try to get all those weird edge cases to be actual playable in the game.
Yeah.
Just with their pedigree from the Divinity original Sin series, it's going to be interesting to say the least.
Yeah. Very excited for the new Baldur's Gate. I think I'm gonna buy Baldur's Gate 1 and 2 on Steam when the sale comes around in another week or two. I assume they'll get down pretty cheap. Seeing that made me want to go back and play them again. So yeah, another one that was on my list is, let me go back over here. Per Aspera. This is a Mars.
Yeah, Mars base builder terraforming game. Not much was shown, but it looked like it was a lot more going from essentially a city builder to like a Civ game almost.
Yeah, it looks like you play a self-replicating machine and the AI for that machine, and you are basically building a colony and then terraforming Mars to make it Earth-like, which, again, I'm a sucker for all kinds of stuff like that. It just, like, hit a whole bunch of buttons that I'm interested in. So, not a ton, though. Yeah, you're right. Not a ton was really given about it. There was a trailer and a short interview, I believe. But it was just like, oh, you'll have to wait and see as we continue to develop it, because it's just got a release date for 2020. So it's at least a year away. But I did find it very interesting. Had to hit my cough button there.
I wondered about that because you kind of went quiet there for a moment. Yeah. Whenever you Shatner, I'm assuming that something's going down.
Yeah, either I'm coughing or my connection took a huge shit. It's doing all right tonight. I haven't plugged in my adapter to see if there actually is an issue, but it's holding up on its own tonight so far. So fingers crossed. But anyways, what else have you got on your list?
Okay, how about, an odd one if you don't know me all that well, but Planet Zoo sounds interesting, but it also depends on if they go more down the management route or down a pseudo sandbox and make your zoo look pretty route, where they go with it. Which I don't have a problem with either route, but I have to be in a particular mood to be able to enjoy a sandbox a lot more than just a pure management game or a heavier management game. But the fact that they're talking about it being like a modern zoo and also talking about conservation probably means that it's not going to sell very well in the South. I mean, let's be perfectly honest.
I was not super interested in it, although not for that reason.
Well, I also played Zoo Tycoon back in the day.
Yeah. I mean, I've played a couple of zoo games. But,
there's one on the Xbox Game Pass.
Yeah, I saw that. But I mean, this is Frontier, right? Remember correctly?
Don't recall which one it was. I'm gonna have to go look at that now. I didn't make note of that. It is. Let's see, Planet Zoo. Oh yeah, Frontier Developments.
So, they've done a couple of zoo games.
Yeah,
and
they also did. Well, they did Roller Coaster Tycoons 2 and 3.
Yep.
Which 3 was a lot more sandboxy, but yeah, it was still, it wasn't full on sandbox like Planet Coaster. But they also did Jurassic World Evolution.
Yep. Just looking at this, it looks very familiar. Like they took that engine and
like
reskinned
they
it.
look like they took Planet Coaster or Jurassic World Evolution and reskinned it. I definitely agree with that. That's why I had my reservations about it.
Yeah.
But they also did the original Zoo Tycoon, so right?
Yeah. I mean, I really liked Jurassic Park, but I did have some issues with that game that may or may not be, still a problem if it's more modern zoo as opposed to dinosaurs. But, the only way to find out is to give it a shot. So, another one I had on my list was Telling Lies.
Yeah, I added a subtitle to that one.
Mm-hmm.
Telling Lies, the Todd Howard story.
Well done.
I could hear that smile. Yeah, it looks very interesting, doesn't it?
Yeah, this is made by the same people who made Her Story, and it's not.
It actually is. They called it a spiritual sequel. It's not a direct sequel, but it's the same vein, where you find what they said an NSA or FBI hard drive full of just videos, and it's an open world full motion video game where you watch a video and there's various keywords that you can pick up on that may link to another video, and you kind of build up a story based on that and go through and figure out what happened. And it looks very interesting. I showed her the download size of this thing because they said it was 10 hours of video.
Yeah, that would be a decent amount of gigabytes.
That's assuming, of course, that they do full 1080p.
Yeah.
Because the way they had it was, it's like a virtual desktop. So, you're looking at the desktop and you have little windows. So maybe the more important videos, get the full treatment. But it's still going to be a big game.
Yeah. Well,
awesome.
It looks like this footage is higher quality than what they used for Her Story. Because Her Story is shot like on a 90s, police camera. So it's...
and they did the VCR treatment to that and all that.
Yeah, so it was lower quality, lower resolution, things like that. I think Her Story is still, though, a few gigabytes in size, like 4 or 5 gigabytes. But I mean, it looks like it's going to play out exactly the same in terms of like, here's how you navigate around and do things. I wonder if they're going to do any interesting stuff with things like the screen reflection, like they did with Her Story. Use that to tell a piece of the story or offer you some clues. I don't know. I'm excited. I really liked Her Story. It was one of my favorite games from a couple of years ago. So I'm looking forward to when this comes out. It's supposed to release late 2019. So we shall see. What else did you have?
That's about it. I'm purposely skipping things that were either Epic Store exclusive or timed exclusives because I'll give them time to see if anything happens with them. Yeah.
So I had two more. Oh, sorry.
Well, I was saying that things like Maneater or the Evolution 1 Ancestor looks really interesting, but they're Epic Store exclusive. So.
And Maneater's been shown off or was shown off last year.
Yeah.
So yeah, I didn't put either of those on either.
Yeah, and the Warframe trailer was almost what they showed last year with a few extra shots. Not at E3. They showed it at TennoCon last year.
Yeah.
So a lot of that was reused footage, and it was a teaser for their big reveal in July.
Yeah. So one of the last two that I had, I'm really surprised that you didn't put on. Actually, it was Genesis Noir.
I wasn't sure about that. I mean, it looks really interesting, but no idea what to expect from it.
Yeah, I was just like so.
I mean, I do like my noir setting, but it's just weird.
I just felt like so much like from this that I was like I had like it did something unique. Like it just really stuck out. I have no clue what it is.
At the Big Bang with some sort of bar.
Yeah. I assume that it's using like some kind of metaphor or something to tell a noir detective story, or a metaphor that has to do with a bang, and it's like a gunshot for the Big Bang. So I'm assuming it's going to be some kind of metaphor, but even if it's, however it goes, it looks really intriguing. So I was in just on that alone. And then the last game I have on my list is Chris Tales, which is a JRPG that they were advertising or were like saying things like, this is like
the love letter to classic RPGs.
Classic JRPGs.
It was a 2D thing that's multiple time frames at once, which is just weird. It does have a nice art style, though.
Yeah, I found it intriguing, but also the fact that they were like a love letter to JRPGs. I'm like, okay, sure. I'm in. I like classic JRPGs. I don't think there's enough classic JRPGs now.
Well, it also depends on, well, you can't have a classic JRPG nowadays because then it wouldn't be a classic.
Well, I mean, I think you know what I mean.
Yeah, I know. Old school.
Yeah. So, yeah.
The spaghetti western where you're escaping the monastery was interesting looking. El Hijo. But it's a stealth game, so that was a few points off for me, but I was expecting Clint Eastwood to appear at any moment just with that music.
Yeah.
And of course, hey, Terraria is getting another final expansion.
Yeah, I was blown away by that. Just like, wow, that game's still getting updates / expansions. Good for them. But yeah, I don't have anything else on my notes or games list for that. So
I mean, we pretty much covered PC Gaming Show almost line item by line item.
I guess so. Between the two of us, all the new stuff we talked about. So cool.
I mean, do we want to cover the things we missed, like Mutant Year Zero Seed of Evil montage?
No, I'm good. So let's go on to the next conference then, which is Ubisoft, our next to last conference this year. Another one that I thought was a pretty solid entry, just in terms of like the games that they showed off.
I would say that Ubisoft's conference, it's punctuated by really 2 items on this.
3 for me, but I think I know which 2 you're going to bring up. Watch Dogs, their subscription service.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The third one for me is the Ghost Recon Breakpoint.
Yeah, see, I didn't really care for Ghost Recon, so. But let's go into Watch Dogs first.
Yeah, this was a
allow me to say holy shit.
Conference. Yeah.
Assuming, now, here's the big caveat to all this, and calls back, one of our commandments, trust but verify. This is an E3 trailer, so take everything you see with a massive grain of salt. But if they're able to pull off even half of what they showed off, it is impressive.
I will say on the technical side for Watch Dogs, because everyone, very rightly pointed out the major graphical downgrade between the Watch Dogs, the first Watch Dogs E3 sort of trailer presentation and the final release of the game. But on the technical side, all of the stuff that they had talked about from a technical standpoint, like with the hacking and all that jazz, all or most of that made it into the game. So, from a game mechanics standpoint, they pulled off that stuff. And at the time, it was
but this is
so many things. This feels a lot to me like
a lot more ambitious than what they put forward in, I would say, both the first 2 Watch Dogs combined.
This was like the Nemesis system in a way.
I wouldn't say that. This feels different than that, just because these aren't procedurally generated. These are, at least from what I'm taking from the. Well, let's talk about what this is first.
Right.
So, from what we were able to tell in the trailers, there is no primary character outside of an AI, and all the playable characters are essentially recruited NPCs that you gain control of, each with their own strengths and weaknesses, and have permadeath. So if you die, you lose control of that NPC, and they either get captured or die, depending on the situation. And then you switch to another one in your roster who is out in the game world doing something else. And you either continue with the mission, you go on a different mission, or maybe you go rescue the guy that you just got captured. And it is ambitious as hell. But it also opens up a lot more of a roster of possible playable characters. I mean, they showed a granny hobbling around with
Helen was my favorite. She's a
Yeah.
retired assassin. I would say, I think the reason I compare this to the Nemesis system is I bet there's a huge chunk of procedural generation behind the scenes. I bet they have seeded the world with all of these procedurally generated people, and they have a few that they have sort of handcrafted as like their, their main NPCs or their like, big name. Like I would, their core roster that like you interact with throughout the main story of the game that will get recruited, and then what happens with them is kind of dependent upon how you skillfully make it through your your stuff. But I'd say a lot of these people were procedurally generated behind the scenes because that's what they did with the whole every person has a backstory and you can hack them and find out all their stuff. Like they procedurally generated a lot of that stuff and then went in and backfilled some of the specifics and the details for the people once they had most of the legwork done with procedural generation.
Yeah, but see, that's a combination of procedural generation and handcrafted that feels a lot more realistic whenever they use procedural generation to build a world based on a certain set of rules, and then they go in and handcraft some portions of it or add little touches here or there, which makes it feel a lot more handcrafted, a lot more realistic than flat out procedural generations like you'd see in Minecraft, for example.
Yeah, but that's what the Nemesis system does too. Procedurally generating a bunch of stuff behind the scenes. They handpicked the initial things, and then your actions in the game sort of propel characters forward or eliminate them from the list. And they took that even further with the second Shadows of War, or whichever one was the second one in that series, and added a lot more personal story to the orcs anyways that showed up in the Nemesis system. And they had more key orcs, especially since they could join your team. So it really struck as like, someone has taken this Nemesis system and figured out a way to do something different with it, which I think is wonderful. I love the Nemesis system and the amount of emergent gameplay it brings in because it makes the game feel much more customized to your actions, giving you a more unique playthrough. And so this, I can imagine, like, if done well, instead of finding out that it's like the same sort of pool that everyone pulls from for the recruitable folks.
Or even if it's it's the same pool, if they randomize it enough where, there's, let's say a dozen different jimmies from the trailer, for example, each with their own backstory and slightly different take on it.
Mm-hmm.
That could, or even their different strengths and weaknesses, because they also talked about that sort of thing where one particular person had extra. Well, Jimmy had extra damage versus drones, which is what they were looking for. But then they showed someone else that was sort of more of a stealth-oriented character that they wanted to file away notes for later to go hunt them down later, which tells me that the game is at least somewhat persistent on who they pull in. Now the question is, is it the same pool for everyone, or if it's a seeded pool from a larger group? Is kind of the takeaway from this.
Yeah,
but it's a very ambitious project.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it because even if they don't do all of it, but they get maybe like half of it put together or something like that, even if it's like 50% of what they promised, that's still a really ambitious, interesting thing to shoot for in a game. It's very, very neat looking. Plus, I'm a big fan of the Watch Dogs games. Like, I was extremely excited for the first one several years ago, and I did genuinely enjoy it. It wasn't everything they said it was going to be. I didn't care quite so much about the graphical downgrade at that point, but
what about looking back at it now?
But looking back at it, I still really enjoyed it. I liked the second one. I've played the second one. I haven't beat it, but I've played the second one. So looking forward to this, as long as it turns out to not be like a huge pile of shit.
Yeah, the other thing that they risk with not having a set main character is the fact that you'll end up with a character as in depth as, what was it, Adrian Pierce was the first Watch Dogs guy that was always talked about as being Blandy McBland.
Yeah.
With really questionable motivations. So that's the other thing, is that, it's going to be a very ambitious project, and I'm excited to see what they do with it. And speaking of ambitious projects,
yeah, where are you going with that?
Well, I was going to say the price point on their subscription thing. Oh boy, did Ubisoft have a bad time for timing for this announcement, huh?
Yeah. So after Microsoft announced their Xbox or their Xbox PC Game Pass thingy at $1 for the sign up during E3 and $5 a month after that, Ubisoft was like, "Hey, we've got a subscription service for $15 a month."
And I just went, "Ooh."
You do get access to all of their back catalog of games, and
yeah, it is a bit larger catalog, and every game is a complete edition. That's one downside, or one of the major downsides of the Xbox Game Pass. We are going to have to do a more of a thorough breakdown of that, maybe in the next episode. Maybe that'll be a game we can play.
Yeah,
so to talk about then, because we'll have a lot more experience with it. But in the Xbox version, you have the option to buy DLC and add-ons for the games, but you don't own the base game. You're getting the subscription, but you also have the ability to buy at a discount. That's what, like 20% or 10 or 20%, something like that.
I think it's always 20% or 20%. Let me just go see if I can see it here. Well,
but Uplay version, it's always the complete edition. So if you play Anno, you always get the complete version to pull a Ubisoft game at semi-random. While you go look for that.
At least in the app, all it says is included with Xbox Game Pass. It doesn't actually give me a price.
There is an option to say buy this game.
Oh, here we go. Okay, I actually have to go through the store. That is at least on Forza, it's a 10% discount.
I mean, it's not a major discount, but it is a discount.
State of Decay 2 is 20%.
Okay, so it depends on the game, which is going to be fun to try to figure out on a game-by-game basis. But yeah, that is one thing, is that you are getting the complete edition for the Uplay, but is that worth a $10 bonus or to the price? I'm not convinced on that one.
Well, I mean, EA with Origin, their Access Gold or All Access, whatever, like the top tier version of theirs is $15. This is similar to that service, but EA has got a cheaper version. It's like half that. I think it's $7 a month.
That's essentially the Microsoft version.
Yeah, which is you get access to all of the games, but it's only like the standard versions of the games. And then there are certain games that like come to it later. So, I mean, the Microsoft one is still best, like still the best deal. And there's no delay on any of the games coming to it, at least based on what they've said. They've said all of their new games, or all of their new Microsoft exclusive games, are going to come to the Game Pass like day one.
I mean, that's the reason to keep it right then and there.
Yeah.
But Ubisoft Uplay Plus does have one bonus about it, is that it's going to be available on Stadia as well. So if you're a traveler, that may be something to look into, but that's going to rack up the subscription cost because Stadia is $10 a month.
Well, they might be doing like a thing where that it's, you know,
or some sort of one,
the other one's cheaper. Sort of bundle.
Yeah,
I would imagine that,
but that's still quite the price per month for mobile gaming, essentially.
Yeah, I mean, I would imagine that Google would subsidize that, though. Like you buy it through Google and you get the Epic one for maybe like $5 a month or whatever for a certain amount of time. Like I would totally see Google subsidizing that.
Yeah, Google has some sort of subsidy going on where if you get essentially their console, the Stadia hardware, you give you 3 months of their Pro Edition, which is their non-a la carte version, which is something like $10 or $15 a month.
Mm-hmm.
That's where I'm pulling the $10 a month from, by the way. They do have a a la carte version of Stadia where you just buy the game outright and you can play it through Stadia, but there's nothing on the subscription model outside of that $10 a month tier. So yeah, that's like I said, Ubisoft announced that on the wrong day.
Yeah.
I mean, that hurts.
I think there's some things that they have that make it competitive, but from like just a price to game sort of value perspective, it seems like the least. But I mean, if you're someone who really likes Ubisoft titles, particularly like the Assassin's Creed series maybe, or Ghost Recon or something like that.
Or Just Dance.
Or Just Dance. It could be worth it to you. I don't think it's worth it to me. There's not enough Ubisoft games that I'm interested in. Maybe to do it for like 1 month, kind of like what I did with Anthem. Pay the $15 to get access to a game, to play it until I beat it or I'm just done with it, and then, not play it again. Every once in a while, that would be worth it. But as a month-to-month thing, it's not my best option.
Yeah. Yeah, that would be Microsoft, right?
Yeah. The only other game that I found that stuck out to me during the Ubisoft conference was Ghost Recon Breakpoint. I'm a big fan of the Ghost Recon series.
Now, admit it. It was the puppy.
No, it was definitely John Bernthal, who was the actor who played Shane on The Walking Dead and who plays the Punisher in Marvel's Netflix Marvel's The Punisher. Or Marvel's Netflix The Punisher.
Wow, I didn't realize that dog had such a range of talent.
Such a talent.
Yeah, I mean, he just laid there in the conference.
But, this could be one of those things where it's just like a quick celebrity cameo. But he did come out on stage with the dog, and the dog just was a very good boy and who just laid there. And, he talked up the game for a little bit. But the big difference in him and the Keanu Reeves one was like, he was reading the teleprompter.
Yeah, Keanu Reeves had this awkwardness about him that he was just blown away, and there was a couple times that he just awkwardly pointed.
Yeah. Was Ubisoft the guys who had the TV show?
Yeah, I was going to mention that in a bit.
Okay, so I just was going to make a point about how, like, there's a big difference when actors come out on the stage, even reading the teleprompter. Like, I could kind of tell because they showed it that John was reading the teleprompter. But when actors come out and do it, I mean, they're actors, so it makes sense. But it's like a completely different atmosphere on the stage. But anyways, I mean, really, I like the Ghost Recon series. I've liked the last several Ghost Recon games, even Wildlands, even though I wasn't like the hugest fan of it. I still liked it. So having John Bernthal in this one is just like a bonus to me, even if he's just a cameo character, because I'll get to it at some point, and so that'll be a nice little thing. So were you going to talk about the TV show now?
Well, there was a couple other games I had. One other game, and I did have the TV show. But since we have games, Roller Champions looked interesting.
Yeah,
that was the roller derby mixed with rugby. And I'm thinking that we're starting to catch up to the dev cycle of the major developers, to where Rocket League was either releasing or gaining its majority of its popularity. So I'm starting to wonder if we're going to see a lot more of these fantasy sports. I mean, Roller Champions obviously has at least some influence from Rocket League, just based on their visual style. A lot of bright lights and a lot of specter about it.
Yeah,
but it's not Rocket League. I mean, that's I think that's the difference between it and some of the games that we've seen kind of jump on the bandwagon or try to release a very quick version. Like, hell, even Warframe released a PvP mode that was essentially, and now I'm blanking on the name of the sport. It's the South American one that has the giant ass hook on it, on your arm.
I don't know.
But you know what I'm talking about, right?
No, actually, I don't know what you're talking about.
I'm going to have to go look this up.
I would be okay with more fantasy sports titles, though. I mean, Rocket League is awesome. I love it. Roller derby honestly kind of feels like a fantasy sports anyways, even though I know roller derby is real. So this kind of feels like a natural extension of roller derby anyways. But it looks neat.
Heart area. Means Merry Festival. It's here. I'm going to have to link this to you, and you look at this and you'll know what I'm talking about. And incoming link from Wikipedia.
Okay. Oh, I have seen this before.
Popular sport within Latin America and the Philippines for some reason.
Cool.
But yeah, it has sort of that feel about it with the how they were passing back and forth.
Yeah. I see that. I get that.
With a little bit of basketball as well, with dunking through the hoop. So from the look of it, there was a demo that released that I didn't get a chance to play because I was busy for it. So that you go around the rink 3 times. It's like this IndyCar track. Very narrow oval.
Mm-hmm.
Go around it 3 times and you can essentially dunk it to score a point. And it's what was it, 3v3?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, it looked very interesting actually, and a very exaggerated art style, a lot of flashing lights, a lot of pizzazz to it, I think would be the best way to put it. So yeah, I do think, what you mentioned actually is a note I had was that I wonder if we will see more fantasy sports games as the development cycle catches up to Rocket League.
I hope
I don't have any problems with. I think Rocket League needs to be challenged at this point because it's kind of just sat there for quite a while. They've released some game modes, but it's always been the base game mode as the the meat and potatoes.
Yeah.
So the other one is essentially game dev meets the office with Mythic Quest Raven's Banquet, which honestly felt a little cringy, which I'm not sure was in a good or bad way.
I think that was the point.
I think it comes down to just how the trailer comes out. I think that's how the trailer played.
I didn't laugh, but I would be willing to give it a shot.
Yeah, I have it listed that I'll give it a shot if and when it comes to Netflix because it's supposed to be Apple TV. You said I didn't recall them even saying where the hell it was coming out at.
Yeah, they said it right at the very end, it's like premiering on Apple TV or something like that.
Because that's where everybody's going to go, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, wasn't there another another show that was working in conjunction with Netflix? Hang on.
I don't remember that.
The Division 2.
Oh no, they're doing a movie.
Yeah, well, movie. Well, same idea though. A movie based on the Division made with Netflix, which is a little troublesome. A Netflix in-house thing because their stuff has been hit or miss. But right?
Yeah, I mean, I would. It'll be on Netflix, I'll watch it. Definitely watch it.
I do have to say that the cringy Twitch streamer montage at the beginning of that didn't put me in a good mood for it. But then the cat t-shirt, the cat skull t-shirt kind of pulled me back,
Yeah. They did several live action commercials for the Division. I think it was just the Division 1, but they were really well done. So I would be interested in seeing that, more long form. I'm trying to think. I don't think there's anything else that really stuck out to me during Ubisoft either. I almost forgot about the TV shows, but
let's see.
Then I remembered.
Let's see. New expansion for Rainbow Six Siege.
Just Dance was sad.
Yeah. That was scaled back. It wasn't even.
Oh, how the mighty have fallen.
It wasn't even that fabulous. I mean, they only had one furry this year. I mean, at least they let them inside this year. Last year, they were banished to an alley.
Yeah.
But it just seems so subdued.
There was the Brawlhalla Adventure Time crossover,
that's
character
why I
thing.
Brought up Ghost Recon Breakpoint,
For
Honor.
Honor.
Yeah. Rainbow Six Siege Quarantine. That looked interesting. A 3-player PvE co-op game.
Yeah.
Tactical shooter. They essentially were saying that they wanted to be the PvE version of Rainbow Six Siege, which I'm not sure how that would work exactly, because a lot of Rainbow Six Siege is the player interaction and using the different game mechanics.
Well, you can still do that involving zombies, the
But
stuff
it's going to be a lot harder to pull off decently.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I'd be interested in playing it, but I don't have Rainbow Six Siege, so.
I thought it was free to play. Or the base game.
I don't know if this will be free to play. I don't remember.
Well, I was talking about Rainbow Six Siege.
Well, yeah, but isn't this the expansion for Rainbow Six Siege though? So
no, this is completely different.
Oh, it's like a spinoff.
It's a spinoff.
Oh, okay. I thought it was an expansion for Rainbow Six Siege.
No,
my mistake.
No, it's from the well, it's going to be the same problem that when we hit Square Enix, you hit like the same title over and over again. There were so many Tom Clancy's in the Ubisoft conference that I just stopped, listing Tom Clancy's at some point.
Yeah.
But yeah, Rainbow Six Quarantine is a separate game from the sounds of it, at least. Let's see, you play Plus, Roller Champions, and Gods and Monsters. Great. It had a nice art style based on mythology, but not much shown. And that is it for the Ubisoft conference. So once again, a lot really focused on Watch Dogs, with a little bit focused on Uplay Plus, and then it was pretty much just a montage of different games. Not a bad thing by any stretch of the imagination, but yeah.
So that just leaves Square Enix left.
Yep. Which my morbid curiosity finally paid off. Because the last couple of years, I've been wanting to know what the hell they're doing with Final Fantasy VII. I don't have a huge attachment to it as some people do, but it's more of, okay, what are you going to do with this? Because they've in the past couple of years, they stopped calling it a remaster and started calling it a remake, and at one point they completely rebooted the development of it and changed developers, didn't they? And still published, but and it's still in-house, but it was a different team that traded off. So they finally revealed some gameplay of it, and also more of the graphics as well. But damn, right? You finally got around to seeing it, right?
Yeah, I did.
I was rather impressed with it, with how they were kind of marrying 3 different Final Fantasy battle systems and trying to still pay homage to Final Fantasy VII while modernizing it.
Yeah, I thought it looked really good. I've played Final Fantasy 15, and it feels like they've made some, they've taken the most from that and then tried to work in some more of the classic Final Fantasy combat mechanics into the modern system. It looks like it's going to handle pretty well. Obviously won't know for sure until, get a chance to play it or at least see it in action. But it looks like a really good compromise between older style game mechanics and then using their more modern systems.
Especially showing it off with a rather well-known boss without having the boss just kind of stand there and trading blows makes it feel a lot more modern.
Yeah. And then graphically, it looks great. I would assume... Well, no, I'm not going to assume that. I was about to say I would assume it's on the same engine or a version of the Final Fantasy 15 engine, but it did change developers and they restarted it, or had to restart development once. So I have no idea. It would make sense if they used that engine, but it's hard to say.
And hey, they finally allowed Barrett to cuss.
Yeah, they did.
Because back in the original Final Fantasy VII, there was a lot of exclamation point hashtag as he cussed. So, I just thought of something. Sid Howland's going to be a lot of fun to be around now.
Yeah.
And we haven't seen him yet.
No, we have not.
There was quite the reaction whenever they finally showed off Tifa.
Yeah, the audience was very excited about that. And I was like, okay, I mean, Tifa's cool, but she wasn't that cool, was she?
No, well, let's be honest. There's a very particular reason why people are excited to see what Tifa looked like. And it involves a certain rule.
Yeah, there's a pair of particular reasons, I would assume. But, I mean, it looked good. I wasn't really interested in it at all, honestly, until seeing this.
Like I said, it was more of a morbid curiosity than anything else. Just, wanting to see what they were doing with it. And they pretty much said that they're also expanding the storyline quite a bit, which, to be fair, Final Fantasy VII did have its plot holes and it had its head scratchers. And they were talking about the first game in this sort of series, which makes it sound like they're going to release it like Final Fantasy 13 full games in a sequence that the overall games make up the entire story. 2 Blu-rays, and it's just going to be the Midgar section, so not even all of disc 1.
Yeah.
So they're really expanding the story, which isn't a bad thing per se, but it's also going to be, how are they going to keep up the pacing?
Yeah. I suppose we'll see, when it comes out.
Yeah, because if I recall correctly, you only spent, like 4 or 5 hours in Midgar originally, the first city. Then it kind of goes open world for quite a while. But it also makes me wonder if they're going to cut out some of the little side adventures that didn't really pan out for the main story, and if they're going to more laser focus it, especially once they get to the second game where it's going to be, I'm assuming, the more open world. Still morbid curiosity, but there's going to be, something. Hey, a game exists.
Yeah.
And also, speaking of Final Fantasy, remasters for Final Fantasy VIII and, well, not Final Fantasy, but The Last Remnant is in the works.
Which I'm excited for both of those. I mean, we've had a couple of discussions about Final Fantasy on here. 8 is my favorite of the Final Fantasies. And then I love the Last Remnant. I was actually thinking about replaying it this year at some point, but I might just wait for the remaster.
I wanted to like The Last Remnant a lot more than I did, but I also got very frustrated with it, with its battle system, because it didn't explain a damn thing. And it felt like I was more rolling dice and, having any sort of strategy in my battles.
Yeah.
And I gotta say that Final Fantasy VIII, it looked pretty much the same. I thought that they were going to announce a mobile port at first. It didn't look that different to me. And The Last Remnant isn't that old, is it? So what are they going to do with that outside of just upscaling?
I think The Last Remnant's over 10 years old at this point.
Yeah, but it still looks pretty damn good.
The Last Remnant. Maybe it's just Last Remnant instead of The Last.
2008, so it's 11 years old.
Is that the PC version or the Xbox version? Because the Xbox version came out first.
That is, I believe, the Xbox version.
Okay. Yeah. Xbox 360, November 20th, 2008. So, yeah, 11 years old.
Yeah, but if they base it on the PC version, I mean, the PC version looked pretty damn good.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know what they would do with it.
Unless they, looking at the Wikipedia, maybe they'll shore up some of the technical difficulties, because they talked about the 360 version having slow frame rate and texture pop in on the Xbox version. So maybe it's technical issues. If they could, not streamline, but explain some of the combat mechanics, that would be nice.
Yeah, some better in-game tutorials or information would be.
Mm-hmm. I mean, whenever I'm looking up information and people are guessing at what's going on, that's not a good sign. And I guess the other big one for me is the Avengers. Or do you want to say that to last?
Let me just make sure there's nothing else. I've navigated away from my sheet, trying to look up some stuff on The Last Remnant. Let me go back and check my sheet just to make sure. Crystal Chronicles Remastered was pretty neat.
Yeah,
Is that like a mobile?
Yeah, smartphone port.
Which Crystal Chronicles was, I believe, just a Game Boy Advance game. So that kind of makes sense. They would port it to smart devices.
Yeah, they had a couple games on here that felt like were ads for games that were already out because they brought up Octopath Traveler, which it's already out on Steam, isn't it? They brought up Life is Strange 2, which has been out for quite a while.
I thought Octopath Traveler was just on Switch up until this point.
Pretty sure it's already out on Steam, or they announced it ages ago.
Release date June 7th, 2019 on Steam.
Okay, so it was out for a few days, so it was an ad for a game that just released. I knew it was already out, but I thought it was out earlier. But obviously you didn't know about it at all, so I guess...
Well, I knew it was on Switch. I didn't know Octopath was on... or had come to Steam. They had Kingdom Hearts 3, which I don't care about.
Oh, no, it's a DLC. Don't forget DLC.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Outriders looked neat, but there was just like a cinematic trailer for that, so we don't really know.
Lots of shooting, scary-looking people, but no idea what's going on. They need to wash their faces, though.
They do need to do that. But it's the post-apocalypse, so I'll cut them some slack.
And it sounded like custom characters with a lot of creepy monsters.
Yeah. But yeah, that's really everything. The Avengers is the only other thing I have on here after Outriders. So if you don't have anything else, we can go ahead and talk about that.
Yeah, I'm just looking at my entire thing, and yeah, it's another one of those that there's a lot of little things like Circuit Superstars, which is a vroom racing game, top down though. So something that is a little bit different and supposed to be across several areas of motorsport. A expansion to Final Fantasy 14 that it's their third expansion, new classes, not much to talk about because it was all lore based and I had no idea what the hell was going on. Saga Legend of the Scarlet was interesting, actually. It's a upcoming release of a game that hasn't been released in the West. It looks like a NES/Game Boy era game and has a lot of player choice in it if the trailer is to be believed. Like I said, it looked interesting. But they kind of front-ended and they bookended it with the Avengers, a third-person action game. Which I have to say, maybe it's just being a little bit facetious here, but it feels a little bit off not hearing the Marvel cast, Is it only me?
No, it's weird, but not only is it not the MCU Marvel cast, which I could understand they couldn't get those guys, but they didn't use the voice actors from the animated series either.
Yeah, well, they had to get Nolan North and Troy Baker.
Oh, yeah, of course they had to get those. Instead of going with the actual iconic voices for those characters. They had a pretty big pool to pick from between the MCU and several iterations of the animated series. But no.
I mean, I understand them not wanting to connect themselves with the Marvel storyline because for people like me that haven't followed it, and it sounds interesting, but I don't want to sit through 20 movies. And that's not too far off from the actual number now.
Yeah, it's 19 or 20. But I'm okay with them not following the storyline of the movies. I don't care about that. That's fine. Actually, I prefer that it tells something new or different or borrows from material that we haven't seen.
Or just goes back to the comics and doing something from there that hasn't been adapted.
Yeah, but it's annoying that they didn't use any of the voice talent that is recognizable for those characters.
Yeah, it just felt so off. And I know that's a bit of a nitpick because, Nolan North has been pretty much everything.
No, I doubt that you and I are the only two people feeling that. I would say that most fans of the Marvel animated series would be a little bit, or are going to be in my camp of like, but why? Why didn't you? Because they've been in the other Marvel properties. The Lego Marvel games have had all of the animated series voice actors. The Marvel versus Capcom games have used the voice actors from the animated series. There's been a couple other games as well that have had them, like the X-Men ones, or no, what was it? Marvel Alliance, whatever that game was called. It was like sort of the top-down one. There was several of them in a series. They all used the actors from the animated series, the voice actors. So it feels weird. It feels really weird to not hear their voices. I actually have some reservations about the game. It looked really neat. Like, I was on board for a while, and then they get towards the end, and it's like, and it's best enjoyed when you play with your friends. And I'm like, fuck.
Oh, I didn't catch that. So
They didn't outright say it was going to be a live service, but they're like, we have content planned for this game for years. And I'm like, shit.
Well, they also
be a live
said
service game.
Well, they also said that it's going to be free, the new areas and new characters. So that makes me think cosmetic DLC is going to be a thing.
Yeah.
Which, depending on how they handle that, it could be good or it could be bad. But they specifically said that no pay to win, which the fact that they have to, this is modern gaming for you, no loot boxes or pay to win mechanics is what they specifically said on the stage. It's going to release everywhere but the Switch and Xbox, essentially, with PS4 getting an early beta and unique things that people clap for, like the rubes that they are. But they didn't detail what the unique things are. I'm assuming cosmetic stuff.
Yeah, probably.
But yeah, the fact that they said every new superhero and region will be free DLC makes me think that they're going to, lean heavily on cosmetic DLC.
Yeah. Oh shit! Sorry, breaking news. The big news I can now share about Cyberpunk is that Keanu isn't some random cameo. He's your sidekick for the entire, in all caps, game, and he lives inside your head.
Well, that's pretty much all gamers at least everyone in that audience as soon as they saw Keanu Reeves.
Yeah. So apparently that was a released statement earlier today. So,
see, I didn't watch any of the Keanu Reeves interviews. Honestly, I had reservations on it just because people are going too nuts about it that it just, kind of backed away. Looks like Nolan North's actually done a lot of DC voice acting. Maybe that's why it also feels a little weird.
Yeah.
Hey, he played Superman.
Woo.
But yeah, it's just hearing the kind of the off-brand Avengers. It just sounded so odd. But yeah, having a co-op focused, I mean, that's not a bad thing per se, but it's going to be a lot harder to sell.
Yeah.
And they've already said that you can't use multiple of the same hero because of course not, right? I mean, that's kind of common sense, but the fact that they have to say that, right?
But that's happened so many times in the comics. Multiple of the same hero. And it's always they're from a different universe, or this one was actually a robot or a clone. But whatever. Like the realm of superheroes, you can basically just do anything and it's okay. But whatevs. I'm not bitter about this.
Wow, someone's hung out with me way too much.
I was really excited until the very end. And they're like, and yes, it's best played in multiplayer where your friends can join you. So you're not going this alone. And I'm like, well, shit. I just wanted to go solo or have AI companions. And then they're like, we have content planned for this game for years to come. And I'm like, live service. Fuck. But there's no other Marvel game in town that can compete on this level. Probably the next best Marvel properties are the Lego games. And they're great, don't get me wrong, but it's not sort of the adult level Marvel content. So I'm torn on this one. Obviously, I'm just gonna wait until it comes out and go from there, but
yeah, because that's how you should anyway.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, it looks like it's when the developer was kind of leaked about the Avengers, it kind of set the tone to me that it was going to be a very Tomb Raider-esque adventure, larger than life with more set piece gameplay than anything else. And the trailer pretty much confirmed what I felt like it was going to be. That it's very level generated. It's very corridor, for lack of a better term, but not quite. But I also imagine it really depends on which heroes you're playing as.
Yeah.
But it's going to be a little weird to not to bump into visible walls with Iron Man, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, it will be.
Or have some sort of oddball limitations. Maybe this is why superhero games are so difficult, is that, they have to be so much larger than life, but video games are already, larger than life, that they feel kind of mundane.
Yeah.
Whenever you put them in the same context.
That's fair. And I can't really think of any superhero games, honestly, as well, that make you feel like a superhero. There are certainly superhero games that are good. Yeah, but that's
but you're not a hero.
Yeah.
I mean, Saints Row 4 is like the best superhero game I played, and it's not a superhero game. And it's not even a good Saints Row game because it pretty much drops everything that made it, the GTA parody that it was.
Yeah.
Or I should say it became, because the Saints Row series started off as a pretty, mundane clone of the GTA series. And then around, the late development of Saints Row 2, when GTA 4 started to get real serious, they just started taking drugs and they never stopped. But even things like Prototype, you're not a hero, you're an anti-hero or a villain, depending on how you want to take a look at it. And what was the electricity-based one that came out around the same time as Prototype?
I don't know.
I
think I know it in my head, but I can't remember it. If that makes sense.
Yeah, I'm blanking what the other one is, but it's the same idea where you're some sort of Infamous. Infamous is what I was looking for. Where you're sort of an anti-hero. You have superpowers, but you're not a hero.
Yeah. That was the PlayStation exclusive, right?
Yeah. PlayStation 3 exclusive. That's something that they should port at some point.
Epic Store exclusive.
Never mind. I take my wish back.
So yeah, I don't really have any more thoughts about that conference. Square Enix.
Since you know the Marvel universe a lot more, not counting the Guardians of the Galaxy, who would you want to bring into the Avengers game eventually?
Well, they showed Hank Pym, who is Ant-Man. Hang on, cough. Anyways, they showed Hank Pym, who was Ant-Man.
I saw the shrink ray, so I assumed Ant-Man, but I didn't know the character. So,
Guardians of the Galaxy. I mean, I know you said, aside from them.
Yeah, because that's kind of the obvious choice with how popular they've gotten.
Yeah. If they could get X-Men characters in, I'd like to see some X-Men characters.
That's a tough sell, though, with the licensing.
Yeah.
That's the downside of licensing, is that, you can think of all these awesome things, but then the lawyers get into it. I'd
like to see Hellcat. Hellcat's fun. I'd like to see some of the more off-the-wall stuff, honestly, like Hellcat or Damon. Is it Damon? He's actual Satan's son, who is trying to be a superhero. And then Hellcat, she gets her name because she goes to hell at one point and then comes back. I mean, there's a lot more to her, but that's...
So in other words, you want some of the more off-the-wall stuff, in the DC universe, something like Dexstar. Yeah.
Just some of those sort of, not necessarily lower-level heroes, because Hellcat was an Avenger, and... I'd love to see some of the stuff the comics do with different people in the roles. So, for example, Lady Hawkeye, that's not her name, but she's Lady Hawkeye, or Kid Wolverine would be fun. Or the gender-flipped Thor would be an interesting take to see in an on-screen representation. Those would be fun. Silver Surfer would be cool. I mean, he really
isn't
sucks in the movies, but he's an awesome character in the comics.
Yeah, especially in the Fantastic Four movies.
Yeah. And Silver Surfer starts off as a bad guy, but then he becomes a good guy.
I was going to say he's going to be a lot tougher to handle in a video game than even the superheroes, because isn't he like some sort of cosmic force?
He is the Herald of Galactus. So he's not a cosmic force. He's powered by a cosmic force, and he's extremely powerful, but he's not like God tier. He's nowhere near as strong as Wanda, who is Scarlet Witch, or Vision. He's nowhere near as strong as those two. Or even Doctor Strange. He's not as powerful as Doctor Strange. Doctor Strange, though, would be a good one. Although Doctor Strange and the problem with those characters, especially in video games, because in comics or movies, you can kind of write scenarios where their extreme powers make sense. But if they show up in a video game, they can just like snap their fingers and everything's better. Because both of them have the power to reshape reality. So unless they're fighting Galactus, like their powers are just overkill. Like they can solve every problem with just a snap of their fingers, basically. Vision can do that too. That's why they're depowered in the movies, because it wouldn't make sense if they could just win everything immediately. Captain Marvel would be fun, but not the new Captain Marvel, the old one when it's Marvel. Just because that would be silly. Like, nothing against new Captain Marvel. She's pretty cool. But Marvel would just be like really silly to have involved.
Yeah, I brought up the list of Avengers members. I was going to say, since they're having Iron Man in, while they bring War Machine in.
Yeah, War Machine would be good. I feel like that's too obvious, though. Squirrel Girl. Squirrel Girl's the best. I think there's been rumors of a Squirrel Girl TV show. But Squirrel Girl is, like, secretly the most powerful Avenger. She's very cool. She kills Thanos in the comics. In one iteration of the Thanos story. She kills him. She just murders him, like, immediately. Like, he's, like, kicked the ass of everyone, and Squirrel Girl shows up. And he's like, oh, what the fuck are you gonna do, little girl? And he doesn't quite say it like that, but basically he's, like, taunting her. And she just murders him in one hit. Almost One Punch Man style.
I was going to say, Saitama with boobs?
Yeah. And she's like, do, and she like wanders off after she's killed him. And there's like some cosmic entities that are watching the battle, and they're like, holy fuck, where did she come from? But anyways, I could go on, but I will stop.
Spider-Man?
Spider-Man would be fun, but again, licensing.
Or one of the different versions then. Because you have so many different flavors of Spider-Man. Oh, hang on. Did I just see what I think I saw? I thought I saw Venom Spider-Man on here. Or Carnage Spider-Man, but I scrolled past it.
But I would assume that for their updating their roster, they would go with sort of the more well-known Marvel characters at this point. So Ant-Man, War Machine.
The boring ones.
Yeah. Basically anybody that you see in the movies or on the TV shows would be who they would go for first, because they're more recognizable in the public eye. And then later they might bring in some of the sort of the B and C team heroes by, I guess, modern standards. Because most of what Marvel had left over when they started the MCU with their C team, people that nobody cared about anymore. So
yeah, I mean, that's how Robert Downey Jr. got to be Iron Man, was that it was a throwaway, right? Well, that and the director vouched for him.
Yeah, I think they actively sought Robert Downey Jr. out. He wasn't their first pick, but after the first couple of people turned down the role, when Robert Downey Jr. showed up wanting it, they were like, you know what? I think he can do it. And at the time, Robert Downey Jr. was coming out of rehab after he'd been on a huge cocaine bender.
Yeah, didn't he wake up in a Burger King drive-thru and realize, my life is getting out of control?
I'm not sure. I've heard several stories about how he actually wound up in rehab that last time. So I don't know if that's true or not. But I mean, he did basically have his moment of clarity, and he went to rehab and got clean and turned his life around. And now he's motherfucking Iron Man, like the most highly paid actor on the planet.
Yeah, think of all the cocaine you could buy now. Sorry.
A lot of it.
That actually got more than life than I thought it would.
But
we ended up going down the rabbit hole pretty big on that one.
Indeed. So let's come out of the rabbit hole. That's the last conference we're going to cover. Like we said earlier, Nintendo with their odd direct things and the fact that we're not really...
Yeah, we already covered Devolver Direct, so we don't need to do more direct stuff.
True. So, overall thoughts, just a few sort of general wrap-up thoughts. And then what did you think was the best conference? I think we can both agree that the worst conference was Bethesda.
Yeah, there's no question Bethesda had the worst conference. I mean, even if you put aside all the Fallout shenanigans, or I should say all the Fallout from Fallout,
Okay.
They only had really one highlight, and everything else was them trying to essentially suck up to everyone. For lack of a better term, but honestly, it feels about appropriate for it. They did the whole fake humble, oh no, we're people. I'm shocked you're still here. Fuck you, Todd Howard.
Yeah.
No, on second thought, no, because fucking Todd Howard, you'll end up with some sort of bug.
Or millions of bugs.
But yeah, best conference. That's actually a tough one because there wasn't really any standout.
For me, it comes down to two. The first being...
I would say the same. It comes down to two. I would say Ubisoft for the Watch Dogs presentation.
Mm-hmm.
And Microsoft for just content.
Yeah, Microsoft for just the sheer volume of like thumbs up content for me. And then Devolver for just how fun their conference is.
Well, I didn't really consider Devolver just because it's more of parody of, and there was a lot of content. But sure, let's give it to Devolver again this year. I mean, they got it last year.
Yeah. If I had to pick someone else other than Devolver,
Microsoft.
Well, no, I mean I said Microsoft already, but if I have to pick Microsoft and someone other than Devolver, I'd probably say Ubisoft as well, just because Watch Dogs is so damn interesting. They've got my attention with that, so hopefully,
yeah, it's an ambitious project. I hope it pays off. But I can see so many ways it could go wrong. But I'm hoping that they've spent a lot of time working on this that to show off something this ambitious. Because have we seen a game that tried to do anything like this? I can't think of anything like this. Trying to build a resistance force of just complete random people and have really no central character. Outside of, like I said, the AI before. I've come up blank trying to think of anything even similar.
Yeah, I can't think of one anywhere else.
Yeah, there's always been, that central linchpin. And even if you did have a large roster of playable characters, either they didn't really have a lot to say, or they didn't really make an impact in the story, or, cutscenes would ignore them, which they said, all the cutscenes are dynamic depending on the characters that you bring in. Which will be hilarious to see the granny with the gun. I mean, let's be honest.
Yeah.
Having hopefully the characters fleshed out enough where they still have that suspension of disbelief. That these aren't all just randomly generated characters with the same handful of voice actors. That's the other thing, is that there's going to be so many different voice actors in this. There has to be. You can't Bethesda this. You can't have 6 actors and then Nolan North.
Yeah. They might try.
I hope not. I mean, I really hope that Watch Dogs Legion, Legion, which, appropriate name as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say Devolver just for fun, and then Microsoft for content.
Same. Hey, we agreed.
Woo!
Hey, we agreed all the way across the board. We both thought Bethesda sucked the most. Granted, that one's usually pretty easy for us to agree on which one's the shittiest.
And usually it's been Bethesda.
Bethesda or EA. Yeah.
Bethesda, kind of lost their competition this year.
Yeah.
Oh, wait. EA had the best conference.
By technically not having one?
Yes.
I can get behind that. But, we agreed all the way across the board. That's cool. We are becoming one.
We are Legion.
Woo!
And of course, I just checked my phone and, hey, Kotaku is throwing a fit about Cyberpunk 2077.
Dare I ask why?
Let's see. Artist says controversial in-game image is commentary on corporations. Supposedly some sort of transphobic thing, according to Kotaku or Polygon or the extreme left.
I see.
Because that is one thing, and I realize we're off base, but what the hell is that? Okay, we demand more trans people. Okay, you showed a trans person being a bad person. You're transphobic. You can't have it both ways, right?
Yeah.
You just can't win.
Nope. I mean, trans characters are still characters, which can have good traits, negative traits, can be good, can be evil. A person's gender and or sexuality should not be their solely defining trait. It's bad storytelling to always... It's bad storytelling to always make them the villain. It's also bad storytelling to always make them the hero. It can be a compelling, interesting part of either a hero or a villain story. Their gender, their sexuality, their transness, and that can play towards hero or villain trait.
Are you still on Steam?
Yeah.
I need to send you this. I'm going to send it from my phone, hopefully. Let's see, open in Chrome. Because I want you to see the image, all right?
Okay.
Because this is one of those things. And I realize we're completely off base. Technically, this is still E3, though, so we're not completely. So I'm loading up Steam chat. Come on. Oh, really? Fine, then. Discord. Just because I didn't have Discord loaded. Okay. Yes. I realize hell of a long URL, but it should hopefully link directly to the image. Or not. But second image. Really? Right?
What's the issue here? Hang on, let me... Just a quick perusal. So... You know what? That feels 100% real, though. I feel like that corporations would do that. They would absolutely use trans imagery with a product that is meant to be consumed by like mixing it up.
From what I could tell is that there's 16 different flavors live to mix, so it's some sort of chromosome changer. And that makes it transphobic. Or whatever the hell they're talking about.
No. Whoever thinks it's transphobic is just wrong. I'm sorry, but this is absolutely... Yeah, this is totally a commentary on corporate culture. Because I could see...
I'm sorry, I opened up my phone and I saw this. And I just kind of just sat there for a moment.
I mean, we have seen it. We have seen this type of advertising a lot here recently. Just replace the stuff that they have been advertising with a trans person and a product that a trans person could be like a representation of. Like, this doesn't feel like commentary on it. This just feels like a copy of a form of corporate culture and advertising. Like, you have to really be trying to be offended by this, I think.
Well, it is Gotaku, so there you go, right?
Yeah.
Oh boy, the comments. Seeing the author in the comments. Oh boy.
Yeah. So that's E3 2019.
And hey, some of the stupid bullshit as well.
Fairly underwhelming. Some good stuff. I mean, it wasn't all bad.
Yeah,
it definitely wasn't as exciting.
Like I said, whenever we talked about this, I believe off air, is that mediocre with a few gems here or there. And hey, there was one on the show floor that sent us images on Discord as well.
Yeah. Yes, he did. I don't have anything else for tonight. And I'm looking at the clock, and it's about that time.
Well, I'm sitting here waiting.
Would you like to hit him with the socials, Rage?
Well, I've been Caffeine Rage. You can find me on the YouTubes, Gaming with Caffeine Rage. You can find me on Twitter, where I tweeted a lot this week. I can't imagine why. Gaming with CR, and maybe someday I'll return to Twitch, twitch.tv/caffeine_rage. And you've been?
Gaming Psychologist. You can find me on the YouTubes by searching for Gaming Psychologist. You can follow me on Twitter at JMA4707. Be my friend on Steam at JArthur4707.
And if you wish to let them know exactly what episode of the podcast you're coming from, the password for this week was guessed by Jared, and it is underwhelming.
Woo!
Underwhelming. I actually put that at the beginning of the episode, and you guessed it. But then again, it's not exactly a tough one to guess this time around, is it?
Nope.
But if you guess what is coming up next, well, you guessed correctly. Once again, our email address, since we didn't give it before, VGL Podcast at gmail.com with your letters, voicemails, gaming-related topics, or you can just tweet them to us at VGL Podcast on the Twitter. Our lovely, lovely patrons have helped pay for this rather long discussion. Actually, longer than we thought it would be. Patreon.com/VGL Podcast. And they've also paid for our Podbean account. VGLpodcast.podbean.com, which hosts the show notes. Links to Discord, so if you wish to see Jim flipping off Fortnite, you can see it there, and also the wall that he climbed. Or you can just find us on iTunes, Google Play, and also our Podbean has links to all our media if you missed where we are. Our intro and outro music is On the Ground by Kevin McLeod. Actually, is it this week? Maybe a different one. But it's still by Kevin McLeod, so you can find his work at incompetech.com. And
as always, as his lovely music starts to roll across my voice, bye-bye now.
See you next time.
Bye-bye.